news on as we start our exploration program. So this is really the first batch of what hopefully will be a lot of news coming out over the next several months. But we're very excited about it. It's honestly like a pleasant surprise. We went and we started sampling some of the veins in an extension area that's sort of well east of where the mine is, and hit some really incredible high grade results right at surface. So that's a really good indication that, number one, that the vein system extends, like we expected it to, but it's actually even further than we expected, because we hit this new vein that's even further east than we knew any mineralization was occurring at surface. That's that Santa Elena vein. So there on the map, you can see on the sort of far upper, right hand upper corner, that Santa Elena vein is now the furthest east that we have mineralization. And the mine opening, the adit, is actually on the other side of that map where the crossed hammers are. So you can see there's a huge area of extension there, and this is now more than 500 meters away from the easternmost workings that we have in the mine. So that's really the big important thing from the press release. Now, on top of that, a kind of a bonus is we got some of the highest gold grades we've ever seen. So we are a silver miner. We're Kuya Silver, but we got 11 gram gold in one sample. We got 5 gram gold in another. And, this mine, because the previous owners were not getting paid for the gold, we don't have a lot of information about what the gold grades are in this vein system, other than, a few older samples going back 7-8 years. So it was really nice to see those high gold grades with the silver. And that's obviously exciting from an economic point of view, because it makes the ore more valuable.
Yeah, and certainly with today's gold and silver prices, and I know you're aiming to get to production soon. Who knows? Maybe we'll be even able to swap some of that gold for silver at the current ratio. And David, for folks who want to stay in touch, make sure that when news comes out, they get the latest updates. Can you give them the website and the phone number here?
Yeah, so our website is kuyasilver.com, KUYAsilver.com. And yeah, you just go to that contact page that Chris, you're on right now, and you can sign up and get all of our news releases as soon as we post them. And then the contact number is down below there, 604-398-4493. And we're always ready, willing, and able to talk to investors. And obviously we like it too when you sign up to receive our press releases.
Yeah, and David, just before we wrap up, I'd like to mention that, especially, that I do a lot of videos about the different things that go on in gold and silver, where most of the time you can't get a comment from people, regardless of some of the things that come out there, which are confusing. Yet really appreciate that you do make yourself available. If people have questions, they can type them in here. If you email info@Kuya Silver, you will get a response, or you can follow up with us at Arcadia and we'll make sure. But David, thanks for being there. Congratulations on the news. Exciting to follow what you're doing, and we'll look forward to checking in again soon.
Thanks again, Chris.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You're listening to the best Liberty. You're 6 minutes away from a live episode of Free Talk Live. Listen live at freetalklive.com.
Calls for accountability. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The attorney for the family of Dante Wright, the black man shot to death in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota by a white police officer on Sunday, says they have a lot of questions about the shooting. Ben Crump says the now former officer, Kim Potter, should have known the difference between a taser and her service weapon.
So it's very difficult for this family to accept that this is an accident when you have a veteran who's been on the police force for 26 years.
Potter had her first court appearance this afternoon. She's been charged with second-degree manslaughter, though the victim's family and community leaders are calling for stiffer charges. She's free after posting a $100,000 bond last night. The defense in the murder trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer charged in the death of George Floyd, has rested, with Chauvin not taking the stand. Closing arguments are expected to begin next week. The lawyer for the family of a 13-year-old Chicago boy shot to death by police last month, speaking out after body cam footage of the shooting of Adam Toledo was released earlier today.
Adam, during his last second of life, did not have a gun in his hand. The officer screamed at him, "Show me your hands." Adam complied, turned around. His hands were empty when he was shot in the chest. Adina Weiss-Ortiz says the family is considering legal action and called his death an assassination. We cannot allow a foreign power to intervene in U.S. elections with impunity. Those words from President Biden as he slaps a new round of sanctions against the Kremlin over election interference.
If Russia continues to interfere with our democracy, I'm prepared to take further actions to respond.
The sanctions against Russian companies tied to hacking of federal agencies. America is listening to Fox News.
Your business is a rocket ship, but you've been grounded because you're still using QuickBooks, spending more time chasing numbers instead of growing your business. Get ready for liftoff with NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need to grow, all in one place, instantaneously. Let NetSuite show you how they'll benefit your business with a free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Some promising news from the Labor Department on weekly jobless numbers.
Weekly jobless numbers have just hit a pandemic low. 576,000 people filed for first-time jobless claims last week. That's far below the forecast of around 700,000. It's also a huge drop from the week before of 769,000. This shows layoffs are easing and the economy is improving, but it's still way above the levels from before the virus hit of around 220,000 claims a week.
Fox's Lillian Wu. Just hours after President Biden made his announcement that all U.S. troops would begin leaving Afghanistan next month, Secretary of State Antony Blinken made an unannounced trip to the country where he met with President Ashraf Ghani and his governing partner Abdullah Abdullah to make assurances that the U.S. remains committed to that country. NATO will also be withdrawing all troops from Afghanistan over the next few months. Buckingham Palace has released more details for this weekend's funeral for Prince Philip.
Buckingham Palace says Princes William and Harry will not walk side by side when they follow their grandfather Prince Philip's coffin into his funeral service on Saturday. This amid reports of tensions between the brothers. The palace also says the royals will not wear military uniforms, a possible concession to Harry, who had to surrender his honorary titles when he quit royal duties. All attendees, including the Queen, will wear face masks. In London, Simon Owen, Fox News.
It's official.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
We just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
And in a surprise announcement this morning, U.S. Deputy Surgeon General Greg Paulson stated that, quote, it's fine to smoke cigarettes if you only smoke while drinking. The Deputy Surgeon General has called a press conference to discuss the shocking findings, which began just moments ago. Let's go live to that now.
Was there a particular study this report was based on?
Look, that determination was made after considering that someone who only smokes when at bars or parties ends up smoking maybe 15 cigarettes a month, while regular smokers are smoking 150 to 200 cigarettes each week. So we feel that it's just obvious that as long as you don't actually buy the cigarettes and you only smoke them while consuming the alcohol, then the risks of getting lung cancer are basically mostly negligible. Just common sense.
This announcement comes on the heels of the Surgeon General's last announcement that drinking and driving is fine if you ate a lot that day or if it's a route you take all the time sober. Moving on, the Japanese Space Agency has announced plans to put a schoolgirl on the moon by 2015.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
Matt. And Tyler.
That's right. The best night of the week here on Free Talk Live. You could call in and talk about whatever's on your mind. 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Yeah, Free Talk Live had its studios raided not too long ago, but we're back up and we're running. Apparently, the FBI agents can pop right in here, pull random wires out, and we can still produce a show. It's been a month now, but yeah. If you want to find out more about what happened, go to thecrypto6.com. That's thecrypto6.com. And there's some video there. There's a story. You can check it all out. Thecrypto6.com. And if you think it's weird that the FBI pops into a nationally syndicated radio program's studio and just pulls out random wires, you're going to be really surprised. The next story. What's happening, Tyler?
Well, I think a lot of people found out that it's not so tinfoil hatty when you say something like the government's going to create microchips to put under your skin, because 60 Minutes decided to do a story on that, and it's happening.
So the Pentagon wants to microchip people or something.
Sounds like what they're doing is they're coming up with a microchip that's going to be able to tell you when you have COVID or when you have some type of disease. And they're going to start introducing it to military personnel first.
Well, of course.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. They signed up for this crap, I guess.
Right, and they don't really get a say in whether or not they get it.
Well, you were a medical corpsman, right, in the Navy?
Yeah.
And what would happen if they rolled this out? Is it just everybody gets it, or what would occur?
So Well, right now, when it comes to the COVID vaccine, it sounds like they're not making it mandatory for military personnel, but they're highly incentivizing you to get it. It sounds like a lot of people, if you're on a ship, I heard one story from a friend of people that are on a ship that they're not being allowed to go home on leave to see their family without quarantining for 2 weeks, but they're not giving you 2 weeks of quarantine.
Right.
You just either don't go home or you get the vaccine.
Right.
So they're not making it mandatory, but they're making your life miserable if you don't get it.
Yeah, and miserable enough that everybody's going to do it.
Right. A lot of people that
goes.
said they weren't going to comply are changing their minds and saying they're going to comply because, you know, when you tell someone you can't see their family, that's a pretty heavy incentivization.
Yeah.
So,
hey, just out of curiosity, I don't know. I wasn't in the military. Do they? So if you're sitting over there in the South China Sea on some kind of naval vessel on maneuvers or whatever it is you're doing, and your time to see your family comes up, what happens?
you're not going anywhere.
Okay.
So there's been, I mean, it happened to me. There was a point in my career where I needed to go home to see family because they were very, very ill, and they told me I wasn't allowed to go because of the needs of the mission.
Yeah.
So they're not going to let you go home during any sort of major operation that you're doing if you're forward deployed or whatever. They're going to try and allot that time to a time when you're not doing anything. But if something comes up and they
back it off,
right?
And then when you go back to Subic Bay, or I don't know where I'm talking about.
I've been there. Yeah, Subic Bay would be.
I have no idea where that is.
Yeah,
is that
Philippines?
Philippines, okay.
Yeah.
So you're in Subic Bay on leave, or not on leave, but the boat's sitting next to something wooden or concrete.
Right.
Then they send you on an airplane for free?
No. Like if you're, I mean, okay, if you're on a deployment, you're not going home except for like excruciating circumstances. They have to send you home. And even then, if you're important enough to the mission, you're still not going home.
Okay.
They're not going to send you home until the mission's over. And then everybody's going to go home. And then you have what's called block leave.
Okay.
And they'll just send the entire unit. They'll just tell the unit, it happens around Christmas every year. They'll just be 3 weeks.
So if you're going to invade
home.
the United States, do it at Christmas time?
Yeah. Well, actually, I mean, maybe. I wouldn't be too surprised if that was a good strategy, but like that's the idea is they just send everyone home in bulk and then they all call you back at the same time. You know, certain people have to stick around. They're not letting everyone go home. It's not like all the lights are turned off and the doors are locked. There's people that are going to stay and post watch.
But do those people get to go at different times? They're the watch.
No. You a lot of the time you just sacrifice your leave, or they'll break it up so you get a couple days versus a couple weeks.
I see. So you get couple days, and instead of being able to go home.
And they tend to have.
It's just hookers at the local bar.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Basically.
This is your new family, sailor.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Okay. So the Pentagon scientists reveal a microchip that senses COVID-19 in your body before you show symptoms, and a filter that extracts the virus from the blood. This is great.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Sounds ridiculous.
Scientists at the Pentagon's secretive unit DARPA, are researching viruses and developing pandemic cures. They work at DARPA and other Pentagon laboratories. DARPA's team saw COVID-19 affected almost 1,300 on board the U.S. Theodore Roosevelt as the virus spread unchecked. In response, they've developed a microchip to detect asymptomatic COVID in a bid to prevent an outbreak. The chip is inserted below the skin and triggers a sensor if COVID infects the body. DARPA have they don't even know how to say it. DARPA, I think it's DARPA has created a filter that can remove COVID virus from the blood. When attached to dialysis, they're working on a vaccine that would work against all coronaviruses, even ones not yet identified. The team also successfully manufactured antibodies against the Spanish flu. It's just the flu. There's no problem. Hold on. What? Okay, so if you have a sample of the Spanish flu from 1918, developing antibodies to it is not some kind of new and amazing science. That is not a pedigree at all, because that just means that, every year they produce a flu vaccine, which will stop strains of the flu that if those strains of the flu are present, it'll prevent you prevent you, will help you to defend against those strains. So that's nothing. That line is absolute blithering BS.
Hogwash.
Yep, completely.
Total hogwash.
Now, as to whether or not I love the notion that DARPA can create a microchip that's going to filter your blood if you're hooked up to a dialysis machine and pull out all the Ronas out of you. But what I like really about this is they're going to test it on someone else.
They're going to have their guinea pigs. You know,
God,
it's time to just address
signing up for the military sucks.
Right. Yeah, it does. They put so much paperwork in front of you as an 18-year-old kid that you're willing to just be like, I'm not going to read all this. And most of it's just a lot of legal jargon I don't understand anyway. But you're giving up so many of your rights when you do that.
Yeah.
And you don't get a say in what they do to your body anymore. I used to give vaccines to my Marines and stuff, and I would have Marines be like, hey, so can I claim a religious exemption to this vaccine? And I'm like,
no,
you don't want to, because it's just going to cause a whole mess of trouble for you. And they would just have to kind of go along with it like cattle, and we'd literally line them up like cattle.
They call it a cattle call.
Yep, yeah. And we used to call it a rodeo, like, you know what I mean? And we would just corral everyone in and give them all their shots and send them on their way. And if they complained, we'd just say, well, take it up with your you know.
Yeah, I'm not your commanding officer.
Right.
I just give vaccines.
I'm just the shots guy. Yeah.
Right.
So let's just talk about what's been bugging me the most about this is like the whole slippery slope fallacy. This entire time with COVID, we've been talking about how people are like, there's so many people out there that are like, the government's not going to mandate a vaccine. The government's not trying to microchip you. And it's like the slippery slope has turned into this half pipe that's covered in some kind of silicone lubricant that you just slide down at incredible speeds. Because let's just talk about the fact that, look, if we can just get over the whole slippery slope argument and just accept that this is a definite possibility, this is something that they are doing, we can stop, saying that this is some kind of crazy conspiracy theory. It's not a crazy conspiracy theory to say that this chip that they want to put into you is going to have some kind of back door that's going to allow them to access your location and, tell them what you're doing and who you're talking to and what.
For God's sakes, they're putting a microchip in you.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll make it do whatever they want. These the same people that mandated that all modems in America, produced in America, in the United States, had to have back doors given to the NSA or whatever.
Exactly.
Seriously? You don't think they're going to do something with this chip? Do you think that they're not going to do anything with this chip? 603-283-6160. I want to hear from your gullible butt. 603.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means, stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. It's as if the government wants us to talk like this. It's Mark with you.
Matt.
And Tyler.
DailyMail.co.uk. Pentagon scientists reveal a microchip that senses COVID-19 in your body before you show symptoms, and a filter that extracts the virus from your blood. Yeah.
We officially live in a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah. It's crazy. What can I tell you? I don't even know what to say about it. I do know that on March the 16th, government agencies conspired together and raided the Free Talk Live studio, the Bitcoin Embassy, the homes of Aria DeMezzo, Renee, and Andy Spinella, and Colleen Fordham, a grandmother, by the way. The Crypto 6 were then arrested and taken into custody. Ian Freeman and nobody remain in custody. What can you do to help? Check out thecrypto6.com. There are multiple ways in which you can donate to their legal defense fund, because these charges are not a joke, and it's going to take a serious legal team, whom I just spoke to today, and many experts to protect the Crypto 6 from further aggression from the state. And by the way, when I say the Crypto 6, I mean you and your right to transact in cryptocurrency. This case will likely set precedent that will affect the world of cryptocurrency for decades to come. Help them in their fight for liberty and financial freedom by contributing to their legal defense fund at thecrypto6.com. Once more, thecrypto6.com.
This is really one of those things where their liberty is your liberty. This is your future liberty. We need to get them freed.
Right. The lawyers that I talk to say this is not money transmitting, and that's the main the center of their case. They say it is not money transmitting. So basically what they're trying to do is build a set of precedent that says what is not money transmitting is now money transmitting.
Well, it doesn't make sense if the government wants to use capital gains tax when you sell your Bitcoin for actual currency, then it's not money, it's an asset. Yeah. So they can't say it's both money and not money.
Well, yes, it's so I would agree with you that it's an asset, but I think that's also a bit of a dangerous road too.
I do too.
What I would say is that the landmark Microsoft case, it was an intellectual property case from the 90s, said that code is speech.
Yeah.
And it's written, right? It's speech, and thus protected by the First Amendment in that way. And then, of course, they went on intellectual property and all that. But that's an interesting piece of the precedent because cryptocurrency is just code. And if can you say that speech is now a commodity and commoditize it? I don't know. Look, I'm not here to make the government's job easy. F them.
Absolutely.
And everything they're all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So good luck to them and whatever it is that they got going on.
To them.
Well, it just seems like my point is it just seems like they're going to label things in this dualistic manner where it's like it both is and isn't whatever we say it is. And then they just have precedence in every avenue that they want to take, which is ridiculous. And it doesn't have any, modicum of logic to it.
Right. And they don't have even a good system for shaping the future. They're trying to sort of shape the past in order to shape the future. And
just when they raided the studio and they were interrogating me, there were several different organizations here. There was the Treasury, the FBI, the
Post Office,
the Post Office,
the BATF,
IRS, ATF was here specifically for me.
Yeah,
but the rest of them, the ones who were curious about Bitcoin, I'll say curious, being friendly, it was clear to me that they all had different intentions because they were all using different terminology. The one lady got on my face. She goes, "What can you tell me about virtual currency?" And another one called it digital money. And they were trying to it's clear that even the different departments of government can't be on the same page. They don't, and none of them really understood what they were talking about.
No, I think it was clear when they came through and the way they pulled out the wires, thinking the radio show is recording us.
Yeah,
right, and just yanked wires out of the back of the broadcast stacks.
Yeah, these stacks were a mess. They were a mess,
and it's just clear they sent in knuckle draggers who didn't know what they're talking about. The last time they raided the studios 5 years ago, they were very, very careful. Now, at that point, I was in the state and I came to the studio immediately and they're like, "You can't come in." And I'm like, "Oh, I work here. You can't stop me from coming in just because you have a magic piece of paper. You don't own this building."
Right.
I do. And they let me in. And, they behaved themselves as best they could. And I mean, maybe it's because there was an adult in the room. I don't know the answer. But, this go round, I was in Mexico and, they pointed guns at people, flew drones in.
Yeah, so I wasn't here for the last raid, but I live across the street, and I watched the entire raid take place, from my living room. And I talked to a friend who was here last time and said it was nothing like that last time. They knocked on the door, they presented the warrant. This time, there was a formidable army in the street. There were 2 Bearcats. There must have been 20, 30 guys in plate carriers with AR-15s, night vision.
Full night vision.
Yeah.
It was only 6 a.m.
Yeah, for a bunch of people that talk about peace on
dawn.
the radio.
Yes.
It's astonishing. It's like, what were they thinking that they were going to be up against?
Yeah, and I think that what they thought they were up against is, Matt, what were they up against?
Well, they were up against, I think they came in trying to do a Waco, and luckily I woke up because I felt the house get hammered. Like I've said before,
they ran the Bearcat into the window.
Yeah, they basically slammed the Bearcat into the house, and I was asleep, but I felt 3 sharp, booms, like the house gets shook really hard, and it woke me up. And I'm glad it woke me up because I just walked down the stairs because I thought a car crashed into the house. Like some drunk smashed their car into the house. I went down to see. There was lights coming through the window. There was broken glass. I'm like, oh man, some idiot smashed their car into our house,
fools.
And I got down there and there's a flashlight pointed at me,
over a gun,
with it like this drone buzzing because they smashed the window out and flew a drone through the window.
Yeah.
I couldn't see it. But I heard it and I was like, they're yelling at me. And I said, "Who are you?" FBI. I'm like, oh, here we go. So I think they really intended to do a full on Waco here. And I just ended up waking up. And had I still been in my room near guns, they probably would have just lit me up and thrown a gun on my body.
I mean,
they're that way. When they were talking to me, they were very, all of them from 6 a.m. on, extremely certain of their right to do what they were doing. These people were true believers in
coming into people's
power
houses
of government,
and destroying people's homes.
They look at you like you are a peasant in a monarchy or
Yeah.
something. You know, you are
They can throw you in the dungeon anytime they want.
They work for the king, and therefore it's might is right mentality, and it never changes. Democracy is no different than, or republicanism, however you want to call it, is no different than any other.
This is I tend to not look at this as the sort of the will of the people. I look at this much more as bankers have gotten in control of the state all over, and I don't mean just the United States. I mean all the states.
Absolutely,
and that. Of course they take the apparatus of power. And of course the FBI is a lapdog for the bankers. I mean, obviously they are.
Probably always was.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to do good things, but they're also going to do what they're told because that's who's in charge. And the sycophants serve those who are in charge. They can't help themselves. That's their nature.
They get hazard pay. They're happy about that.
The number, 603-283-6160, 603-283-6160, Free Talk Live.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. Mark with you.
Matt.
And Tyler.
The number, 603-283-6160. It's 603-283-6160. So you can call in and talk about the Pentagon through DARPA, microchipping soldiers, and what you think those results are going to be. Because this isn't a joke anymore, folks. 100%. They're microchipping soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, what do you call it? Coasties, the whole shebang. Whoever they want in microchip, they're doing it.
For openers.
Just to start.
Right.
It's the level of dystopia that we're at and that people seem to be comfortable with is incredible. I don't know what kind of level of cognitive dissonance you have to have, or just plain old sticking your head in the sand and saying that everything's all right, that you have to subscribe to look at the current situation and be comfortable with it. It's no longer the tinfoil hat wearing wackos, calling in radio shows, like talking about this stuff. It's real now. It's real and it's happening. And if you watch the news all over the world, crazy stuff is happening and people are just going along their lives without ever questioning anything.
We used to make fun of people who would call in about microchipping because I didn't see the pathway for it. But I can tell you, I see once they microchip enough soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, and then they talk about all the benefits through their media mouthpieces, which will say anything they want at this point.
Yep.
And they say how great it is. Then people say, well, microchipping's good enough for our boys in green. It's good enough for us.
Yeah.
And then they just continue on because at this point, 2 masks, 3 masks, 4 masks, whatever amount of masks, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, it's insanity. And then people are like, well, that Mark's crazy for wanting to leave the United States.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's like, you got to think about the fact that they're not going to do it in a way that creates this like confrontation with normal people. They're not going to be like, you have to get this chip or we're going to put you in jail. It's just as simple as saying, if you don't get this chip because it's for your safety, then we're not going to let you fly. And then pretty soon we're not going to let you bank.
Yep.
And you're not going to be able to like buy food for your family. And then
it's like the mark of the beast.
Yeah,
it
is.
I thought that was a bunch of hooey too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, you're seeing, like China's creating a digital yuan and the Fed's talking about creating a digital dollar.
Yeah, they're just behind. I mean, they got to beat the Chinese to their digital. The digital yuan is out. I mean, like I don't know that they're using it, but they're they're well ahead of the U.S. on that.
You want to talk about something that people are going to say, oh, that's just a far-fetched conspiracy theory, but clearly it isn't at this point. They're going to start saying that physical currency is unsanitary and it spreads coronavirus and we need to get rid of physical dollars.
Yeah,
because at that point,
right.
then all they have to do is like freeze up your phone and they don't have to take it from you. They just have to like do it remotely. And all of a sudden you're not allowed to buy food for your family because you didn't want to toe the line.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Fortunately, Satoshi Nakamoto came along just the right time, 2009, 2010. Kind of saw this on the wall and in the cards. I think he saw this coming down the pipe. And that genie's out of the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've made cryptocurrencies. So for instance, but I mean, a lot of these places are right now, in order to get these lawyers that we're talking about, first off, the situation is that the Shire Free Church and its ministers have some cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got it back in 2011, 2012, 2013, when we were the first media in the world to accept cryptocurrency for ads. And now we have to pay attorneys for this situation with the Crypto 6 at thecrypto6.com. Well,
where'd this cryptocurrency come from? Well, some of it's from fundraising, but some of it's just from stores that we have of Bitcoin. Well, let's see. So you have there's addresses with major amounts of crypto in it. Okay. Well, where'd you get it? Seriously, they're asking those questions because they cannot accept cryptocurrency that might have been in any way involved in the crime. The government can tax you from now until the end of time to pay for its case, but you may not use any money that they've decided somehow is involved in some kind of crime, the crime you're charged for. Even if it's not a crime and you prove that later, well, how do you go back in time? Well, you don't. They can't do that. So the lawyers need to know that the money that they're being paid with is not the money that has to do with the crime. So now we're whitelisting, wallets and, all these kind of things are going on. And now everything that comes out of, there is a legal document that says how this wallet contains this amount of crypto, and everything that comes out of that wallet, I guess, is okay.
I was just talking to a friend about this a couple months ago, and I said, watch, in the next 5 years, you're going to start hearing about clean and dirty Bitcoin.
Yep.
And it's all... I said 5 years, and it's been 3 months since I had this conversation.
Yep.
And it's already happening. The government's going to tell you, oh, that Bitcoin, that specific Bitcoin, that's worthless because that was used in some crime way before you ever got it. And it's insane to think that
right. And if you can't use a whitelisted exchange and you can't turn it into, say, Monero or something like that, which they then can't, track or whatever it is that they can do with it, then it's just dead in the water.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that one thing we should be talking about before we get sidetracked with the current conditions and the current efforts that are going against cryptocurrency users is that you shouldn't be afraid of cryptocurrency because all this is going on. In fact, to defeat it, the number one thing you can do is get involved with cryptocurrency, normalize it, get your neighbors and your friends and your families and yourselves to use it every day.
Yeah, once it's ubiquitous, once everybody's got it, and once they're using it, then there's not much they can do to stop that.
The genie is out of the bottle, but the genie could be a lot more out of the bottle.
Be clear, ladies and gentlemen, when you pull out a $100 bill and they now market at the supermarket, they don't want you using that. They want you to use their little pre-approved bank cards.
Yes.
Remember, it's all about the banks, ladies and gentlemen. The power in this world isn't the state. It isn't the FBI. It isn't the U.S. military.
It is the bank.
It's the banks.
And it always has been the banks.
And the banks don't like cash. The banks don't like Bitcoin. The banks don't like anything. They want things to continue on the way they are, but obviously they're changing, so they're figuring out, well, how do we get in front of this Bitcoin parade, because obviously it's out there.
They're too late. And they know
Well, they're getting in front of it, though.
I don't think
you could buy Bitcoin with PayPal, and it just sits there.
Yeah.
You can hold it, but you can't spend it.
You're right. You can.
Is that how that works?
Well, I think you
Basically.
can use it for PayPal approved things, and that's what the
you
the
can't
banks and the
move it
government are
into a
trying to
different
do.
wallet.
No, if you have Bitcoin on PayPal, it has to stay on PayPal.
Oh, don't do that. Stay away from Coinbase and
well, but that's okay.
all that.
This is part of the problem that we're seeing with Bitcoin and with the government getting or becoming more accepting of it. It has to do with the fact that they're going to allow Bitcoin, but it's going to be in their pre-approved wallets with pre-approved transactions with pre-approved people. Basically, they're just going to make it. It's not going to be like a dollar where it's like I can use a dollar anywhere that somebody accepts it. They're going to be like, no, this Bitcoin that you have, if it's been used in any crime, it becomes worthless. And if you're going to use the good Bitcoin that you might have, it needs to go through the people we say you can spend with it. And that's part of the problem. I mean, Bitcoin is one facet of a much bigger concept of crypto that exists. And there's other cryptos out there that are trying to buck the system. I mean, Monero is one of them.
Fantastic.
Right. And that's end-to-end
when they were
encryption.
interrogating me, they specifically asked me about Monero. And I was like, you know what that is? Because they don't know what to do about
They
that.
heard the word.
They know the word. I think they've been
they're
told
as far
that
back on Monero as they were in Bitcoin on Bitcoin in 2011.
Yeah, I think the people who interrogated me were basically told that keep an eye out for the Monero. That's extremely bad because for them it is extremely bad. That's a coin that basically destroys itself on the way out of the wallet and recreates itself when it comes into a new wallet. There's no real in between for them to follow.
Yeah.
So.
The number, 603-283-6160. It's 603-283-6160 here on Free Talk Live. Calling about cryptocurrency, microchips from DARPA, or whatever you want. Free Talk Live.
Are you making sense to the boomer mindset? I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com. 80 million baby boomers comprise 25% of the population and control most of the USA's wealth. As aging parents pass on, they'll control more. Boomers are 46 to 65 years old and regard themselves as midlife. They identify as neither young nor old. They're post-minivan and pre-retirement, and they don't like being called boomers. They think me. Many of the purchases boomer couples make are individual purposes. They've been experimenters all their lives. If you want their attention, tell stories and keep it simple. If something seems complicated, boomers can dismiss it as, I don't need this. And if you're looking for work, you may be applying to a boomer, so relate accordingly. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live.
I was watching some videos of you and your crew of cronies on YouTube, and I was shocked at what I saw.
What did you
came off
see
as
that was
a
so
band of
shocking?
Degenerates that were harassing members of your community. I saw you chasing around some traffic lady, parking violation.
The parking
you know?
attendants, yeah. Okay, so you saw some footage from Robin Hood of Keene where...
There's a whole bunch of that footage out there, and I can assure you, you didn't see me.
That wasn't really a Free Talk Live thing.
Incorrect.
All right, you got me. You got me. Lay it on me, prosecutor. What'd you see?
Incorrect. I would like you to address, are you guys receiving government benefits while you guys are doing this? I think you are.
No.
What would the benefit be?
Incorrect! Incorrect, sir!
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. That's what we do here on Free Talk Live. That's why we call it Free Talk Live. If it's between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Time, anywhere in the world, you can call in and talk about whatever you want. We got rid of the toll-free line. We figured that's so, last decade. The 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. It's Mark with you.
Matt.
And Tyler.
And we've never had this particular crew on the air before.
Ah, this is fun.
But I have been waiting for this particular one because the three of us think so similarly about just about every issue. Not to say that either of you can't disagree with me if I, have anything. But I'm just, I'm obviously, I don't have to fight about anything, so far. And, yep, I'm sure there's something that you and I all disagree on. But anyway, you can call in and disagree with us. 603-283-6160. It's 603-283-6160. Out of Chicago, a review board on Thursday, a police review board released videos, 911 calls, and other materials related to the officer-involved fatal shooting of a 13-year-old boy named Adam. My son's 13, just in case you guys need a little perspective here. Mm-hmm. Adam Toledo, while responding to a report of shots fired in late March. Extremely graphic police body camera footage. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't care what I get paid to do this. I don't look at these videos. I won't do it. I don't owe you that. You want to see a 13-year-old get shot and killed by these freaking knuckle-dragging thugs?
Psychopaths.
You do it.
Knowing about
I'm not
it's
doing
enough.
it.
Yeah.
And you know what? That 13-year-old boy wanted to be a cop.
Probably at one point in his life, he did. Yeah.
He did. That was what he wanted to be.
Yeah. Extremely graphic. Let's see. Pulling up on location, the city's west side, March the 29th, immediately encountering two people, one of whom appears to be Toledo, running away from the area. Officer shoves the other person to the ground and chases after another person, later identified as Toledo, who is seen running away from the crime scene wearing a baseball cap, a dark-colored hoodie, and jeans, and the camera's audio begins to play. The officer can be heard yelling to the boy to stop. Stop right effing now. Toledo then stops for a moment before he turns around. The officer, at which point the cop tells to him, show me your effing hand. Toledo appears to have his hands up, and he is shot at, I'm going to say this again. Toledo appears to have his hands up when he is shot at one time. The officer calls over the radio for an ambulance and announces shots fired. Look at me. You all right? Where are you shot? The officer asks him. The cop then radios, shots fired by the police. He continues asking Toledo where he is shot and tells him to stay with me. Other officers can be heard saying, stay with me, buddy. Stay awake, buddy. Come on, bud. Stay awake. My pension. I'm sorry. It says, come on, big guy. Toledo was shot one time in the chest. Officers on scene performed chest compressions as if they're going to save this kid. While they waited for an ambulance to arrive, the seventh grader could not be saved.
Absolutely awful human beings.
Remember when you were in 7th grade and what you were like at that time? Now imagine you're staring down a cop with a gun.
Yep. In 7th grade, we were literally playing guns.
Yeah.
We were out there. If we weren't playing football, there weren't that many kids in our neighborhood. So 4 kids playing football, it gets a little boring. So sometimes we just pick up the plastic guns and, go play guns.
Mm-hmm. Imagine the nightmare of being a 7th grader, because I'm pretty sure that almost every 7th grader has the idea that the police are there to take care of you and they're there to protect you. I don't know many 7th graders that have been disillusioned from that.
He was running. First, he ran away, and I mean, the chase instinct is there, but these guys should be trained on this.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't matter whether he's 13 or 23. This just goes to show that this is a trigger happy cop.
Right. You know what? I think I would. I want to add something to that, or maybe even alter that comment. We might have just found something we disagree on. I have this theory that the reason cops are so shooty these days is because of anti-gun culture. I don't think these cops grew up around guns. I think a lot of their first exposure to guns and gun living had to do with being trained at these really ramshackle police schools, these academies that are just, kind of They don't have.
Well, the lady who shot the guy and was in Minneapolis was a trainer. She said taser, 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 pulled her gun and shot a man.
Right. How do you screw that up? It's literally impossible to screw that up.
It's the wrong hand. It weighs different. I mean, I'm not saying she shot him on purpose. I am not saying that. But I am saying a breathtakingly bad slip-up occurred.
Yeah. Catastrophic.
Oops.
Yeah. And at some point or another, the cops are going to need to be disarmed. I mean, I don't know how else to say this. Stop sending, forget it. We need to stop sending the cops in with guns because apparently they're just going to shoot
can't handle
kids.
It. They can't. They're not good at it. They're not from a culture of guns, and they'll never be used to it.
Well, I also think part of the problem has to be that there are too many cops out there that are just dying for their moment to shine.
Oh, yeah. They want
to pull their gun. They want
to
take down the bad guy. Yeah. I mean, look, I was in the military, right? And I was with the infantry for part of my career. And I can tell you that there are a lot of 19-year-old infantry Marines out there that are just dying to get into combat.
Yeah,
they just want to know what it's like to kill someone.
They sign up saying, I want to be able to kill somebody.
Right.
Well, we have a job for you, son.
Right. And the thing is a normal person doesn't want to hear that about their soldiers. They want to think that, just like their cops, they want to think that they're the good guys, that they're doing the right thing.
They're
but
protecting
let's be
our
honest,
country.
Right? Like, okay, for me, for instance, right? One of the reasons that I could never be a cop, even as like a younger person, I never once wanted to be a cop, was I just didn't like the idea of telling people what to do, especially for things I didn't agree with. The type of people that become cops aren't there going, I want to protect people. They're going there saying, I want to take down the bad guys. They just want to kill people, and they want to do it thinking that they're the superhero.
And in this case, when we're talking about a 13-year-old, it's pretty clear the first reaction was shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And there needs to be some level of separation. That's what it comes down to. When you were talking about people and guns, Matt, when I grew up, I'm 50 years old. I was born in 1971. For those who wish to know, my dad had a rifle in the closet, not in a gun safe, not hung up on the wall where I couldn't reach it, in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my first BB gun at 10 years old. It was 10. Yeah, it was 10 years old, and I began training with that. I was told, "That's Daddy's rifle. You don't touch Daddy's rifle."
Mm-hmm.
And I was told that multiple times. That's Daddy's rifle. You don't touch Daddy's rifle. And you can imagine, after I get to be a pretty good shot with the BB gun, that I did want to take Daddy's rifle out. I absolutely did, and I was allowed to. Because, he wanted me to be good at a good shot at all rifles that I got in my hands. He was never a handgun guy. He just didn't like them.
Mm-hmm.
He believed in rifles. But I never touched his rifle. Never once did I looked at it. I would open the closet door. They didn't tell me I couldn't look at it. I'd open the closet door and I would look at it. But I wouldn't touch it. I never touched it because that's how I was taught. And I was taught there's a few serious things in this world, Mark. And one of them is you don't touch Daddy's rifle.
Yeah. And I bet a lot of cops never had a background like even that. And I wonder if people who are not gun people, but not necessarily opposed, and they go into something like police work and they start shooting, I wonder if they don't even maybe fetishize it a little bit. Maybe once they get their hands on the gun, now they've got a fetish.
Well, in Chicago, they're the only ones who can carry them.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't see how you wouldn't fetishize it.
Makes you feel like a big man when you're the only one gets to carry a gun.
You're the only one.
Yeah.
And you can do it anywhere in America. You're a Chicago cop.
Right. Yeah, you can carry everywhere.
Yes. Pretty much everywhere.
And another thing, Matt, too, to expand on that, like part of the problem definitely has to do with the fact that a lot of cops are military veterans. And there are cops out there that have been around guns, understand guns, but part of what comes with the military culture that is definitely emulated in the police world is this kind of tribal, it's civilians and soldiers, or civilians and police. Everybody else is a civilian, and it's us versus them. So just like
they don't understand.
No, they don't. And the thing is like, think about this, right? What normal people date cops? What normal people hang out with cops?
People who like to get beaten.
Most people, right? Like most people, do not want to get into a relationship with a cop because they're afraid that their gang friends are going to come after them if you do something wrong.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is that you don't want to be in a you don't want to be in a friendship or relationship with a police officer in many cases because you just feel like, well, I don't want to put them in a situation. Everything's illegal, and I don't want to put them in a situation where they have to, potentially arrest me.
Yeah,
everything's illegal. This is the new America, ladies and gentlemen. 603-283-6160.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Sanctions and an olive branch. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The president announcing action against Russian companies and individuals tied to a cyber attack on the federal government while extending an invite to Russia's leader.
President Biden says new sanctions imposed on Russia in response to election interference and cyber attacks could have gone further.
But I chose not to do so. I chose to be proportionate.
The administration announced sanctions on Russian companies tied to those cyber breaches of federal agencies and the expulsion of 10 Russian diplomats.
The United States is not looking to kick off a cycle of escalation and conflict with Russia. We want a stable, predictable relationship.
Saying it's time to de-escalate tensions, President Biden is proposing a summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Europe this summer. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The family of Dante Wright, the Black Brooklyn Center, Minnesota man shot to death by a now former police officer Sunday, says more serious charges should be filed against Kim Potter, who was white.
All this family is striving for is to get full accountability, to get equal justice, nothing more or nothing less.
Family attorney Ben Crum, Potter is charged with second-degree manslaughter. She's free after posting a $100,000 bond last night and is due back in court next month. In Chicago, the lawyer for the family of Adam Toledo, a 13-year-old boy shot to death by a police officer last month, says police body cam video of the shooting speaks for itself.
Adam complied with the officer's request, dropped the gun, turned around. The officer saw his hands were up and pulled the trigger.
Adina Weiss-Ortiz says the family is considering legal action. In a statement earlier today, the family asked people to remain peaceful to honor Adam's memory and work constructively to promote reform. America is listening to Fox News.
80 million Americans experience thinning hair, and science shows there are multiple root causes. Nutrafol is a new approach. It's a drug-free supplement that targets root causes like stress and hormones. Nutrafol was shown to visibly improve hair growth in both men and women after 6 months in clinical studies. Shop now with promo code FOXNEWS for 20% off your first month of subscription at Nutrafol.com. That's Nutrafol.com. Promo code FOXNEWS.
A man from Maine faces federal hate crimes charges, accused of setting fire to a predominantly black church in Massachusetts.
There was extensive damage at Martin Luther King Jr. Community Presbyterian Church in Springfield, Massachusetts from a fire set December 28th. There were 3 smaller fires set on 2 separate days there earlier that month and some tires slashed in the area. Federal prosecutors say Dushko Volchev, 44 years old, from Holton, Maine, is responsible for all of it. They say investigators found on his phone several messages using racist language about black people and location data linking him to the scene of the crimes. He was already in state custody, pleading not guilty of several charges, including arson, and now faces 4 federal counts of damage to religious property involving fire and 1 count of use of fire to commit a federal felony. Chris Foster, Fox News.
The House Financial Services Committee set to hold hearings next month with the top executives of major Wall Street banks, including J.P. Morgan Chase, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo, as lawmakers examine the role lenders have played in helping people recover financially from the pandemic. Another day of talks in an attempt to revive the Iran nuclear deal.
Representatives of the original signatories, including the UK, France, Germany, Russia, and China, along with Iran, meeting in one hotel with a representative of the U.S. nearby, getting briefed. The Trump administration pulled out of the pact in 2018. President Biden says he's considering getting back in. Hanging over the talks, an apparent attack by Israel at an Iranian nuclear facility, and Iran's decision to increase the level of enrichment of uranium in defiance of the pact.
Fox's Greg Palka
is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
The Relationship Pro talks to your girlfriend so you don't have to.
We're joined today in our demo center by Eric and Pam, a couple that's been teetering on the edge of divorce for years.
So, Pam, you guys have been using the controller all morning. I understand it's a very good listener.
It's like talking to a fully developed person.
It's got to be a major relief not needing your husband to be your partner or a friend.
Oh, yeah.
So, Eric, it must be a tremendous relief to know that there's someone else on the other end of Pam's eye rolls.
Oh, now I can focus on my game instead of worrying about all that stuff she said there.
Will the Relationship Pro keep you two together?
I think it'll drag this thing out for another couple months.
Amazing. Now, to thank you two for coming on the show, we bought you two the new deluxe Relationship Pro Extreme.
This expanded model has 2 new modes. Fantasy mode, which allows you to select the age and nationality of the controller's voice.
Oh, I choose a voice like my dad's.
Okay. And a hyper-realistic mode that starts fights and then grovels pathetically when it's afraid you might get rid of it.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
That's right, it is Free Talk Live, and you are free to call in and talk live here on the airwaves. We're kicking off the second hour of Free Talk Live. It's Mark with you,
Matt,
and Tyler.
And you can call in and talk about anything you want at 603-283-6160, 603-283-6160. I want to talk about stacking the Supreme Court. But before we do, a little housekeeping, ladies and gentlemen. If you call 603-283-6160, you must wait until the commercial break for me to answer the call. I am answering the phone. If you call and hang up, your call doesn't get on the air. You're not punishing me because I have no idea who you are or what your problem is. So call and hold the line, and I will come talk to you, and then we'll put you on the air the next segment.
603-283-6160. Feel like I have to explain some things very clearly. And one of the things I'd like to explain clearly is that now the Democrats are in charge in, well, basically the Senate, the House, and the White House. We got the full boat going here. They're going to look at stacking the Supreme Court. What does stacking the Supreme Court mean? Any guys, have you heard this term?
Well, I heard that they want to add 5 more members to four.
Yeah, they already have an odd.
There's 3 Democrats currently, and there's 6 Republicans.
Yeah.
So if they add 4 more, they have 7 Democrats. They have a Democrat majority.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court can be any number that it wants to be. I think it's been sitting at 9 since the 1800s.
1869.
There you go.
I happen to look. We did read this last night on the air, and I want to go over it with you guys because I think it's really important. Yes, there isn't a constitutional amendment setting. They set a constitutional amendment about how much representation you can get.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be that there was a certain amount of people needed a representative in Congress. But as it got so large, they're like, oh, well, we can't do that. And we don't really want to represent people anyway. So, we'll just, make it bigger. And so now you've got 435 of the drunken sailors in the House and 100. Pardon me, Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
I want to apologize to all the drunken sailors.
Right. Come on. Everyone loves a drunken sailor.
And 100 senators. And they never really set what the number was for the Supreme Court. But they built a building. And the building's built for 9 justices.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's just sufficient. Go ahead, pass an amendment that says there should be 9 Supreme Court justices. This is what Americans want. It's been that way their entire lives. There's nobody alive who has seen more or less than 9 Supreme Court justices. Theodore Roosevelt was roundly vilified for his attempt at stacking the Supreme Court, and I think this is a very, very, very bad idea.
I think it's a terrible look for the Democrats. Everything they do lately has been looking so desperate and petty, and like even more desperate and petty than you normally see from them.
There's this concept, whether or not you want to believe it is entirely up to you, but there's this concept that the Supreme Court is supposed to be impartial. And I mean, this just flies in the face of that notion. And
it
who's
shows.
to say that it's not going to start some kind of Supreme Court arms race? 30 years from now, we might have a Supreme Court of 35, 37 members.
Can I be on it?
Right? Yeah.
Well, I believe there are justices who have never been a judge. At least one that I'm thinking of, but I don't want to say anything because I haven't researched ahead of time.
So you're saying there's a chance.
You're saying there's a chance. So let's walk through this.
Mm-hmm.
All right. At this point, only the most radical of the Democrats are out there saying, let's study this and see whether it's a good idea. Nancy Pelosi says, yes, let's study it. But no, she wouldn't bring it to a vote on the floor. But if somebody wanted it really bad, if Americans wanted it badly enough, of course, she'd buckle right away. And of course, that's all they have to do is say. And Biden's saying no, and Sanders is saying no. AOC, I'll bet she's saying yes.
I bet.
But she's on that end of the Democratic Party where we try out new things. We float ideas and stuff. She'll be president in a couple decades, but not right away.
God help us.
God.
Oh, it's on its way, ladies and gentlemen.
Idiocracy is here.
In full effect. Yup.
So let's run through this. I'm not saying it's going to go this time, but let's say it does. Let's say they decide, well, we got enough power, and the Americans gave us a mandate the second go around. They voted us back in, the Democrats. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to stack the court. We're going to put another 4 justices in there. 9 plus 4, 13. Lucky 13. We're in shape. We're ready to go. Do Americans begin to lose? Because obviously, most Americans do not want this.
Right.
And if it does happen, then it's one of those things that Americans didn't want that happened, kind of like Real ID.
Mm-hmm.
And getting rid of cash and all kinds of things that are roundly disliked by anybody but those in deep power. So do Americans begin to trust their government even less and less and less over time? Is that what's happening? Because at this point, literally, they did a poll, and cockroaches came out higher than members of Congress.
Yeah. And, I wonder if, we're just told repeatedly told how good government is, but nobody really actually believes that on the street. Like, even Democrats don't like Democrats anymore, but we're told that they do.
Yeah.
And, I think there's probably a lot of Republicans who don't quite like the direction the Republican Party has gone. And we know that's true.
This is kind of like in the 1970s when members of Congress were like, the mafia doesn't exist, guys.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, yeah, we totally believe you, and it's like apparent that it doesn't. And that's
Obvious.
the thing. People don't like the way the government acts. And it's not whether or not, let's remember that what the government does isn't based on what the people want. Studies were done on this.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It's a Princeton study, and you can look, and the correlation, there is no correlation between what the people want and what the government does.
There is a correlation between what special interests and lobbyists want.
Yes.
Right?
High correlation.
Yeah, much higher. And what it has to do with, there was an article that came out a couple weeks ago that said that, the Biden administration had a think tank put together, including some historians, and Biden was asking, what kind of things, how much social change can we implement in this administration before it becomes too much for the people to accept? So you have to ask yourself, why are they trying to ramp things up, and why are they trying to push so much change? The Biden administration clearly wants to stack the Supreme Court because it knows that having a Supreme Court that has a majority conservatives, they're going to put a stop to a lot of changes they might want to institute, such as a magazine ban or some type of gun confiscation bill.
Right.
And you have to wonder.
It's amazing how judges can't read the Second Amendment, but they appear not to be able to read the Second Amendment.
Right.
Biden said that there's no amendment that's absolute. Well, the amendment is part of the Constitution, and what he's saying is that when it says shall not be infringed, he means he can infringe it.
Sometimes, with the way they want to do it.
Yeah.
That's the one amendment to the Constitution that says shall not be infringed after that. They're very serious. And they made the First Amendment say you can say and do and, be whatever you want, express yourself freely. And then to back it up, they went to the Second Amendment to say, by the way, if anybody gives you a hassle about any of that and they're going to hurt you over it, here's some guns.
Here's your catch-all.
Well, I think the Second Amendment was intended to be a way to hold back. See, the thing is that the with the Civil War, is that the federal government went from this organization that no one thought about at all, that was basically just the military, to an organization that it was the government then.
Right.
And you went from a citizen of New Hampshire to a citizen of the United States, all in that short period of time. And that's one of the things that happened with Reconstruction.
Yeah, people don't really understand what Confederacy meant, right? Like a Confederacy and a federation are
very similar terms.
Very similar terms, and people think one is just in counter to the other or something. And the truth is that Confederacy has a lot less centralization.
Yeah.
And the fact that the federal entity one centralized a lot of power. The Constitution only allowed for the federal government to deal with interstate commerce. And the idea behind that was they wanted to make it so that they just kind of made sure that trade stayed even and fair across the states. And they've turned that into so much more.
Yeah, it's fascinating what the Civil War did, and most Americans just think it was about slavery, and so many other things happened.
Very little to do with slavery.
Yeah, well, it was an important factor if you were if you were a slave. Free Talk Live 603-283-6160. Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions, or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish, in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today. Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
Matt.
And Tyler.
603-283-6160. It's 603-283-6160. We've been across the board tonight, really. From DARPA microchipping you to Bitcoin being controlled by the feds. Chicago cops shoot a 13-year-old unarmed kid. And they say the city's on edge. I don't know how anyone can talk about a city being on edge, but fascinating stuff. Let's see. An attorney representing the family said that if you're shooting an unarmed child with his hands in the air, it's an assassination. So
accurate.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Accurate.
It sure shouldn't have been done. Also talking about stacking the Supreme Court. I think this is probably the most important thing facing Americans right now. I think this is the early stages. I think that this is the floating of the ideas, because this is how it goes.
Let's see how people respond. You know, that's what they're thinking. They're like, let's see if we can make this happen and then use it to our advantage. Are people going to start freaking out? Are people going to resist the idea? Or are they just going to kind of accept it and go par of the course?
Yeah, and I think with the COVID-19 thing was not like just giant power grab.
Mm-hmm.
They saw that Americans were gonna just believe every single word, and they just ran with it. How much can we dump on them that they'll continue to take? And
the thing is that you can't even
still talk to Americans about it.
I know.
I mean,
they're like sponges for it.
The top 500 richest people in America got ridiculously wealthy. The rest of us got hosed.
Yep.
And you got to wear your mask because Dr. Fauci isn't doing anything this summer. Like, what? What? Like, you still don't realize that your pockets have been picked. You don't realize that your children and your children's children's future has been mortgaged and it is gone.
It's demolished.
You know, people look at history, right? And they see all these crazy things that happen in history, and they just ask themselves, how did people go along with that? Like, how did the Nazis put Jews on boxcars, and how did people just stand idly by?
How did the Romans get looted by, just a few German tribes that were outside the city?
Yeah.
Well, this is how you got looted, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I was watching a documentary about, the 2000s and watching how, like, George W. Bush led us into Iraq with weapons of mass destruction, and looking at it in hindsight, you're just like, how did people not see how stupid this was and how duped they were? It's happening right now.
It happened.
Yeah.
And people don't even know that it happened to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll fight and fight and fight about it.
I think this time it's like, I mean, to some of us, it's obvious. Like, this might be one of the most obvious ones of all time, but I think this one is also the most under the radar for many, many people. Like, I think weapons of mass destruction, that was a softball one. That was nobody believed that.
Yeah, at the very least, you could say that they were trying to protect, our future or whatever. But what can you say about this? Is that, I mean, here's a disease that they never that you never believed was more than that the survival rate was less than 99%.
Right.
Like, never.
Well, let's talk about the Supreme Court in regards to this, because it's like, give me one excuse how putting more people on the Supreme Court isn't a partisan move. How is this not entirely motivated by
I think a lot of people don't care. Like, there's enough people who will vote Democrat. I shudder to call them. They're not Democrats. The Democrats don't consider them Democrats. I can assure you. And the Republicans don't consider you a Republican. Me a Republican or anything like that either. They don't. They don't. It's a small club and we ain't in it.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of people who vote Democrat who would be absolutely, let's go ahead and stack the Supreme Court while we have the opportunity.
Oh, sure.
Because we're never going to get another opportunity to do it like this again, which of course is the counter argument for doing it. Because if you're never going to get another opportunity, that means the Republicans will, and they will then stack. And then now you're just talking about an arms race. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly,
at some point or another, we have to pick a number. And I say that number should be 9 because it's the number it's been for 150 plus years.
Yeah. And what they're trying to do is also, I mean, even for them, will come back to bite them eventually, because it's just putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. And that's all they're struggling to do right now. It's so dumb. I mean, that could easily turn out to be what is it? They want to go from 9 to 13.
Yeah.
So that could easily turn out to be 13 right-wing Supreme Court justices.
What should be concerning to people, what's concerning to me, is how short-sighted all of this is. They're doing it because they want short-term gains right now in their agenda.
Yeah.
Whatever policy they want to push, they need to push it now.
And they're so hand-to-mouth in terms of their thinking that they don't care if that comes back to absolutely obliterate them 5 years from now.
Well, they must be confident that it's not going to. They must be confident that whatever changes they're going to make in the next 4 years are going to be good enough that they solidify their position. Otherwise, they're really doing risky stuff with playing around with this.
Totally. They don't care about gender issues. They don't care about racial issues. They don't care about any of that stuff.
No.
That's all dressing on something else.
Let's talk about that. Actually,
what
it's
is
funny.
it? I don't know.
So I'm on dating apps, right? Like, I'm a young single guy, so I'm trying to find somebody who's, some nice girl. And
some girl dumb enough.
Yeah, right, exactly. To put up with me. And one of the things that I'm seeing on these dating apps constantly is women posting their pronouns, right? Even if it's not just trans people that are posting their pronouns, it's everybody.
Like, I do it on my LinkedIn.
Right. A lot of
The reason I do it on my LinkedIn is so people don't get confused. My pronouns are His Majesty, Your Majesty.
Yeah, which is what I'm using now when I get confronted about this, because one of the things I put in my bio is if you put your pronouns on your bio, I'm just going to swipe left. I don't want to talk to you because I already know, like, you're not really thinking about this. And I've been confronted on it. They're like, what's so bad about putting your pronouns on your bio? And I said, look, it's not, if a trans person declares their pronouns, that's great. I would like to know what your pronouns are so I can use the proper ones, because I'm not a bigot. I'm not trying to be a jerk to you. If you want me to use your pronouns and you're a respectful person, I'll use them. The problem I have with normal people posting their pronouns is you're normalizing the idea that all of these made-up genders are the norm and the mainstream, and you're basically saying that biological gender doesn't exist anymore. And you're doing it on this, like, what you're attempting to do is you're attempting to control the conversation.
Yes.
And what bothers me about that is these corporations and these media outlets that are pushing this, do they really even care about your gender or the what is it, 0.6% of the population that are trans? No. What I think they're doing is I think these corporations want it so people are confused about their gender, because when you are confused, when you erase the concept of what is natural, you create people that are insecure, and insecure people are better consumers. Like these corporations These corporations are not trying to make you self-sufficient or self-reliant. They want you to be reliant on them.
Yeah, they want you to continue to consume. And if you're constantly worried about whether or not you've used the proper pronoun and referring to, she said her pronouns were actually she.
Let's think about this. Let's think about the fact that Big Pharma is going to make so much money if we have a future where everybody has to get vaccines mandatory every 6 months for the rest of their life. Let's take it a step further.
And the microchip.
Yeah, and the microchip. How much money are they going to make if people have to take hormones to be the gender they want and people are switching all the time? And where's like all the money that's going to go into that? It's about consumerism. It's about making you reliant.
Fascinating. What do you think? 603-283-6160. It's 603-283-6160. Is all of this about consumerism? I think there's a good argument. Free Talk Live.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, the most fun edition of Free Talk Live I've done since returning after Ian's arrest. It's Mark with you.
Matt.
And Tyler.
Thanks, guys, for sitting in. Really have appreciated it.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun.
Pleasure.
Yeah, so I've been speaking to Ian recently, and I know a lot of people want to know what's going on. I spoke to Rich Paul, nobody, one time, and then the other Crypto Six are out, and you can contact them as you wish. It's thecrypto6.com for, whatever donations and research you want to do. Thecrypto6.com. And contact them there if you want any more information than you've already gotten, than we already have on the website. If the website is not complete enough, please let us know. It's thecrypto6.com. But we do have a hearing. So the judge has heard. I should back up a little bit. Ian's bail was denied by the magistrate after much ado. The judge has heard the arguments and now either has to choose between two things. Either has to decide whether or not he's going to get bail, period. Mind you, I'd like to remind you that the police union leader of the Boston Police Department accused of molesting 5 kids was given a bail. But Ian, who is accused of using Bitcoin, of selling people Bitcoin, is not.
Yeah.
Because he's dangerous or
because
something.
this is a political hit.
Because that's what it is. This is incarcerated for being libertarian.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it happens, and it's undeniable. Ross Ulbricht,
Another
Dread
political
Pirate Roberts, everybody around him got nothing for charges. He got 2 life sentences. And the judge said it. She said it's because you haven't rescinded your philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And so she gave him 2 life sentences. And that's that. So Ian may be out next week. Maybe he won't. The judge could possibly ask for a de novo hearing, which means basically a do-over, and they have to make all their cases again, and then the judge would, make their choice again. And maybe they're just dragging their feet. I don't know the answer to that. But let's go to the phone lines. We've got Pat calling in from Northern Michigan. Pat, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. That roll in you just gave was perfect for what I'm going to say.
Excellent. What's on your mind?
I'm seriously frustrated with corporate America kowtowing to the trolls on the inner tube. You all know who I'm talking about. The kids live in the basement, pretend to be 10,000 people, and impress everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All right, so we're going to go to the story of Billy Goat Gruff. I don't know if you all remember this childhood fable, but there's 3 goats. There's a little goat, a medium-sized goat, and a big goat. And they're going across this bridge. Well, there's a troll that lives under the bridge. And the little goat goes across, and he trip, trap, trip, trap, trap. And the goat troll comes up. Who's that trip-trapping on my bridge? It's just I, little Billy Gruff.
Billy goes Gruff, yeah.
I'm going to eat you. No, don't eat me. Wait. My brother is much bigger than I. Wait for him. So then the medium-sized goat comes across. Trip, trap, and the troll comes up. Oh, I'm going to eat you. Hey, no, don't eat me. I'm just a little goat. Wait for my brother. He's much bigger than I. Well, then the three-ring goat comes across the old ram, and the troll comes up. Oh, you're the goat I've been waiting for. And he horns him right into the creek, back under the bridge where he belongs. So the
Scottish
end of the
Scottish
fable
ogres.
is, keep
Trolls.
the trolls under the bridge.
I'm with you, Pat. Thanks for the call. Yeah. Well, I mean, I had honestly forgotten how that thing went.
Yeah. I've never heard that before.
You haven't?
That was awesome. Nope.
Yeah, that was I think it's just because little kids get excited about when you say trip, trap, trip, trip.
Yeah, my eyes got big. I felt like I was 7. It was great. Thank you to that guy.
Right. That's what it feels like. You can actually, the trip, trap, onomatopoeia just has such a powerful feel to it. Yeah. And I think that's what the kids like about it the most. Anyway, agreed. Let's keep the trolls under the bridge. And we were talking about this situation where the Democratic Party is looking to increase the number of Supreme Court justices from 9 to 13. And this is contrary to what everybody wants. I mean, really, Democrat voters didn't even want this. They wanted their $2,000 out of the Biden administration and didn't get it. I think they've probably lost a lot of voters over that. But whatever, it was worth it. We got rid of Orange Hitler, and so worth it. Totally worth it.
We've saved the town. Like, oh boy. As it burns down.
Right.
This is fine.
Yeah.
At least we have geriatric Jesus.
All of these stories have an obvious kind of like tie into each other that I kind of just want to spell out for people. I'm sure plenty of people listening understand this, especially regular listeners. But if there's anyone out there that thinks that all this is a little bit crazy, just think about the fact that everything that the government does has a different motive than the one they're telling you. Yeah. Don't be stupid and assume that they're telling you their honest intentions.
Suckers.
Right? There's always an underlying motive. Why did they go after a guy like Ian? Why'd they go after a guy like Russ Ulbricht? Why are they trying to get people to use, these weird new pronouns? Why are they trying to stack the Supreme Court? It's because they want power. They want to control you. They want to ease you one way or another. They're going to coax you, gently and tell you it's for good reasons and it's for your best interest. But when was the last time the government actually did anything for your interest out of, these altruistic reasons?
And at some point you have to stop. I don't care how big a sucker you are. You have to stop at some point and say, when is the common good bad for me? How am I getting absolutely annihilated on this one? How is that for the common good?
Well, I think that a lot of people,
because today, yesterday it was Ross Ulbricht's problem, and now it's Ian's problem, and tomorrow it's gonna be your problem.
Yeah, how's that Voltaire? I think it was Voltaire, right? That quote goes, "It's like first they came for the libertarians."
No, that's Reverend Martin Niemöller during the Nazis. It was first they came for the trade unionists. I wasn't trade unionist, so I said nothing. Then they came for the Jews, and I wasn't a Jew, so I said nothing. And they came for somebody else, and I wasn't one of those, and so I said nothing. And then when somebody came for me, there was no one left to stand up for me.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately it's the truth. Like, the government's job is to separate us, and it's doing an excellent job at it right now. And this is the thing that I'd like to remind everybody. As the government says, we're going to honor your pronouns. As the government says, we're going to honor your marriage. We stop those evil states from stopping gay marriage. As the government says, we're going to make sure that you get your fair share, Mr. Ethnic Minority. Don't worry. As the government says that, last year, the 500 richest people in America got wildly and breathtakingly wealthy.
Yeah.
And what do you get? What do you think you're going to get? Is it going to come still? Because they said they were going to get $2,000, and now you got $1,400. It's a lie, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lie. You knew it was a lie. We fell for it. Don't fall for it again. They're not here to help you. They're bad folks.
They are very bad people.
If the government was willing to give everybody blanket statement $1,400, it's probably because they knew that it wasn't going to make a huge impact on the economy.
Right. Well, I mean, why not $2,000?
Yeah.
Right. And because they had to give those last $600 per person to their corporate paymasters.
Right.
And this is the thing: is when we say the government, what we mean is the just people working for the big banks, which are just full of people. These are just people. Ladies and gentlemen, these are just people.
Just humans.
And these humans want to rob you. You know, and I mean, they want your money. The money's got to come from somewhere. It used to be that you could just open a company and make money from customers, long-term customers and things like that. It's looking now like they just have to squeeze this piece of fruit dry and move on, because it's about next quarter's profits, not about next decades.
You know, it's like, it's funny to me because when you think about identity politics, when did it start? When did all of this
brand new?
It started right around when Occupy Wall Street was taking place.
Yeah.
You know, and
I think that's when it really started ramping up really hard,
yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
Right. When there truly were pointing out the difference between the 1% and the 99%, we had to separate them in a whole bunch of different ways.
Yeah, I remember when Anonymous was just a hit against what is Scientology.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
You know that at some point in your life, an emergency is going to happen. You just don't know when. You could call the government, and maybe they'll help. Or they might shoot your dog. Why call potentially psychopathic strangers when you could ask your friends, family, or neighbors for help? Cell 411 makes decentralized emergency response possible, and it's free. Visit getcell411.com or download Cell 411 from your favorite app store. Getcell411.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Everyone's always talking about buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. That's boring as hell. How about earning some Bitcoin? Getting paid with it. That's the way. It is money after all. If you want to earn Bitcoin at your business, AnyPay is the way to do it. Your customers will love it. Everyone in town will talk about your store being the Bitcoin store, and it's just fun. Get our free app and start earning Bitcoin at your business. AnyPayX.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. The number 603-283-6160. It's 603-283-6160. It's Mark with you.
Matt.
And Tyler.
Guys, I got to read some of these live reads I haven't touched during the show. AnyPayX. Everyone's talking about buy Bitcoin. Well, I'm sorry, that's boring as hell. How about earning some Bitcoin, getting paid with it? That's the way. If you want to earn Bitcoin at your business, AnyPayX.com is the way to do it. Your customers will love it. Everyone in town will talk about your store being the Bitcoin store, and it's just fun. Get the free app. Start earning Bitcoin at your business. AnyPayX.com. It's so fast and easy to use this app. I mean, literally, if you have done nothing, you can do it in 5 minutes. If you already have a Bitcoin wallet, or a crypto wallet, I should say, then it'll take 1 minute. AnyPayX.com. So I am just sort of wondering when, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it. 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. Is that it seems obvious, and we all seem to agree here that those that call themselves the government of the United States are about some shenanigans that we don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. So, whatever, it seems really short-sighted to shove through this whole Supreme Court stacking thing when nobody wants it. Mm-hmm. And it's either going to go or it's not. If it doesn't, what do they gain? If it does go, then does that undermine the state to the point that Americans are just like, I'm done. They'll just do whatever they want to do, and it's too partisan and too messed up, and we're never getting back to unity. And in this generation, there are people that remember 9/11. They remember unity. For better or for worse, mind you. Yeah. But they remember it and they liked it. Mm-hmm. They liked that kind of unity that existed for that 1 year after the World Trade Center towers were hit. Everybody knew that everybody was on the same side. Democrats were listening to Rush Limbaugh. It was amazing. Yeah. And obviously we've been torn so thoroughly apart, and that can't be good for the wealthiest and most productive nation on the planet. I mean, is that
I'm wondering if that's intentional too. Like a lot of the naysayers and discord that you see on the internet, I'm wondering if that's actually either foreign governments like having troll farms and the Russians, the Chinese. I mean, there's a ton, the Koreans. There's a ton of people out there who would benefit if we,
If you don't think the Chinese have rooms full of people attempting to tear down
factories.
Yeah, the United States is, the average person's thoughts about the United States. If you don't think that's happening, you're a fool.
Yeah, I mean, these other countries have a vested interest in seeing like the U.S. empire fall, and then who's going to take up that mantle? Russia and China; those are pretty good candidates for who's going to be the next monolith power.
Right. I mean, anything that if you think of the world in the sense of superpowers, I prefer not to. I'm not a superpower. I don't control these people. Right. But I do. If I had to pick between the three, Russia, China, and the United States, I would pick the United States.
Right.
I'm no super patriot or anything like that, but I'll go ahead and go that far.
Look, the United States has had its share of atrocities, and it's done its share of war crimes. But when you compare it to like when you look at like the CIA with COINTELPRO or what's that big one, MK Ultra, like these programs they used to do back in the 50s, 60s, probably still do to some degree.
Horrid.
It pales in the comparison of someone like the KGB. and the kind of things that they were willing to do. When the U.S. government started torturing people at Guantanamo Bay, they had to borrow torture manuals from the KGB because they'd never done their own research in how to get information out of people through torture. The KGB, and let's not kid ourselves. I mean, Putin, the leader of Russia today, was a KGB agent. These people still exist. They still have this information, and they're still willing to do these things. Do you really want that dictating the world's, what's acceptable on the world stage, what governments are allowed to do?
I don't think Putin's even anything to think about. I mean, Russia's a regional power at best at this point. China, on the other hand, China is planning a war with the United States in the next decade.
They will absolutely starve their entire country to death to make victory certain in the future in that war.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. The Russia. I mean, yeah. You want to compare Russia today to China, which is basically this authoritarian ethno state. That's Marxist in principle.
Right. Russia can't stand China. Never has been able to stand China, but they're willing to put up with something just to see. Well, China's willing to take a stand against the United States. What's going to happen?
Are people at home paying attention to what's going on the international stage right now? How China's ramping up posturing against Taiwan at the exact same time that Russia's ramping up posturing against the Ukraine? If China wanted to invade Taiwan, they could easily coordinate something with Russia and say, hey, we're taking Taiwan. You take Ukraine. We're going to do it at the same time. America's busy.
Somebody's going to win.
Everyone's yelling about their genitals and their skin color.
Right.
And
which potty they need to use.
Yeah, and burning things in the street. They're too busy to deal with any of this right now. Their economy's on the edge. Everyone's talking about this stock market that's overvalued, that's ready to burst. And, guess who owns all of our debt? China. If China and Russia at the same time decided to flood the U.S. bond market with all these bonds, it would lead to a wave of corporate bankruptcies. The stock market would collapse, and all of a sudden we would all be chasing, our tails while these guys were increasing their presence on the national or international stage.
To be clear, China owns about, I think it's $1 trillion out of the 27 or 28 trillion dollars the United States owes, but is all you have to do is look at the corporations. Is all you have to do is look at the bankers. And who do they say that we need to kowtow to right now? Because the major corporations and the major banks and these sorts of things, they're all looking to China because they're looking at that new growing middle class that's over there. That's where they make their money.
China has a middle class. Just their middle class is the size of the United States.
Yeah.
There's so much money to be made there. And,
now their middle class is much poorer than the United States' middle class.
Right now.
But yeah, now.
And they're a developing economy. It's not a bunch of peasant farmers and factory workers anymore.
Right.
These people own cell phones and they have cars and they have houses.
And they're much more used to authoritarian dictates than Americans are.
Yeah,
We're hard to deal with.
And that's the thing. They can have best of both worlds. They can have, from the government's perspective, the Chinese government's perspective, they can have a consumerist nation that, has educated people, but they still get to maintain this authoritarian dictatorship over them.
Yeah.
And think about how many Chinese students come to America, learn American education, and then take it back to China.
That's a mistake of, the Republicans in U.S. foreign policy and immigration policy. Frankly, the United States should be looking for anybody who's getting an engineering degree, a science degree, these STEM degrees. The United States, China's had 10 times as many graduates from STEM graduates as the United States last year, and their economy is aging rapidly. There's only one way to handle this, and that is take the best fruit they've got. We can still get it, and they won't do it.
Right. This really soft approach that America has had towards China had to do with this concept that we were like, look, let's just introduce our way of life to them, and then eventually China's going to come around and realize that freedom's the answer. First off, we all agree that freedom spurs innovation. But when you're China and you don't want your people to be free, all you have to do is go send your students to American universities, steal the innovation, and then you get to keep your tyranny. And we've basically allowed them to reverse engineer all of our great ideas and allow them to catch up to us and now surpass us economically because we thought, oh, they'll come around and they'll stop being communists eventually. And they never did.
Right. Well, I mean, you'd have to be sufficiently. The United States government loves to flirt with the ideas of freedom, but they don't know what freedom is.
No.
So they've never been able to act. I mean, this is the problem is that, Chinese don't come here and learn freedom.
Right.
You know,
they just learned a different, worse way to do capitalism.
Sort of germane to the topic, and tying in the previous topic with the cultural things that are going on here. I don't know if you've ever heard of Lily Tang. You know Lily Tang?
Yeah.
Okay, so Lily
She's a Libertarian Party
politician. She's Chinese-born, Chinese escapee to the United States.
Yep.
She lives in New Hampshire now, and she wrote a piece in the Union Leader. So if you can go to theunionleader.com and look up Lily Tang, it's a fresh article she put out today. She wrote all about cultural Marxism and things like that, and how she sees it happening here and now, and it gets worse every day.
She was what they call black Chinese back in the day. Now, that has nothing to do with the color of your skin. It's they decided there was the black and the red was good and the black was bad. And, so her family was black and they got treated terribly. Mm-hmm. It was awful.
Yeah, go to the Union Leader and check out that article she wrote today. It's phenomenal.
603-283-6160. It's 603-283-6160.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A new round of sanctions. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Biden punishing Russian companies tied to election interference and cyber attacks on federal agencies and the U.S. But he says he's made it clear to Russian President Vladimir Putin he could have gone further but chose not to do so.
The United States is not looking to kick off a cycle of escalation and conflict with Russia. We want a stable, predictable relationship.
The president has proposed a face-to-face meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin this summer in Europe. 10 Russian diplomats have also been expelled. The first court appearance today for Kim Potter, the white former Brooklyn Center, Minnesota police officer charged in the death of Dante Wright, as Wright's family speaks out.
The Wright family appeared alongside their attorney, Ben Crump, before they make Dante Wright's final arrangements. Crump says the family ultimately wants, above all else,
accountability to the highest level. That's all they can ask for. That's all they can request.
But Dante's mother, Katie Wright, says justice won't come for her family.
We're still going to bury our son. We're still never going to be able to see our baby boy.
Ex-officer Kim Potter faces second-degree manslaughter in Wright's death and up to 10 years in prison. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Democrats have unveiled a proposal to expand the number of justices on the Supreme Court.
Our predecessors made eminent sense when they pegged the size of the Supreme Court to the number of judicial circuits. As our country has grown, so too to the Supreme Court. 13 justices for 13 circuits is a logical progression.
House Judiciary Committee Chair Jerry Nadler, Republicans called the legislation a power grab. It's not likely the measure will advance. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she does not support it and does not intend to put it up for a vote. America is listening to Fox News.
Finally, get curcumin and CoQ10 together. Stop Aging Now brings you CoQ10 Ultra to fight inflammation and energize your body. Get a 30-day supply for 40% off plus free shipping with promo code FOX. Power and protect your cells for a strong heart, sharp brain, pain-free joints, and more. Nancy from West Virginia raves, CoQ10 Ultra helps me stay mentally and physically fit. Only from Stop Aging Now. Get 40% off plus free shipping right now. Go to stopagingnow.com and use code FOX.
Florida lawmakers are now considering a bill that would ban transgender athletes from playing women's sports.
Florida's House of Representatives passes a bill preventing transgender female students from kindergarten to college from playing sports on girls' teams. Its supporters say it's what's fair.
This bill is strictly to preserve the safety, integrity, fairness, and competitiveness of women's sports.
Republican Kaylee Tuck, though Democrats like Michelle Rayner complain it's discriminatory.
You call it policy, and I call this bill about humanity.
The bill is expected to pass in the Florida Senate and has support of Governor Ron DeSantis. In Broward County, Florida, Eben Brown, Fox News.
A new report by the CDC says overdoses have gone up dramatically in the last year.
The progress made in the U.S. in the fight against drug addiction has been wiped out during the pandemic, according to the CDC. The report says preliminary data shows that more than 87,000 people died of drug overdoses in the 12-month period that ended in September. The New York Times reports that the largest jumps happened in April and May of last year, when unemployment numbers were high, lockdowns were in effect, and many treatment programs had temporarily closed. The report found that synthetic opioids like fentanyl are the primary drivers of the increase, but many of the overdoses involved stimulants like methamphetamine. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Buckingham Palace says Prince is...
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
The call just came in over the police radio. Yeah, right here. It's just me and my producer Glenn and a camera. Buckle up. We don't know where in the mall the shots were fired. We don't know what's going on. It looks like a security guard. I'm going to see what he knows. Turns out he wasn't a security guard. He was just a guy in a blue suit. We still have zero information. Where do we go next? I have no idea. My gut says that way. Come on. I see an ambulance. Confirmed ambulance site. You'll see the space by the curb where an ambulance was parked just moments ago.
You have any idea where the shooter is?
I was being stonewalled by police, but I couldn't let that stop me. I spoke to a woman who said that she saw a man being escorted through the mall by police. Could this be the shooter? According to the description, he was a male, aged somewhere between 20 and 60. He's either Caucasian or part Latino or something like that. He was wearing some kind of a jacket. And I wrote something else here, but he got smudged. However, that information later turned out to be false. The shooter, if there is one, remains at large. Needless to say, our thoughts are with the victims here today, if there are any, which we don't know yet.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. We're kicking off the final hour here of Free Talk Live. It's Mark with you.
Matt.
And Tyler.
The number, 603-283-6160, 603-283-6160. One of the nice things about if you want to look on the bright side of Free Talk Live getting busted up and hosts getting thrown to jail and that sort of thing, is we've changed this host schedule dramatically. So Tyler, you're back. Yeah. Thanks for coming in and filling in. Matt, I had thought that you were on the air regular on Free Talk Live, but you've been doing like post shows and after shows and filling in on other
Ian
podcasts.
tried to get me to do Free Talk Live for 4 years, and I always said, nah. And here I am having a blast doing it, and it took him having to go to jail in order to get me to do it, and I'm glad I did.
Number 603-283-6160. Guys, we're going to talk about one that near and dear to my heart. From WMUR. I know, ladies and gentlemen, you've never heard of WMUR. But WMUR is the only FCC licensed television station that I know of in the state of New Hampshire. WMUR 9 out of Manchester. Vegas. The big Manch.
Manchganistan.
Manchganistan. New Hampshire's mask mandate to end Friday and won't be renewed, the governor says. So the governor's gotten a lot of heat over. Imagine trying to be a Republican governor in the middle of this blue New England and what that's like. So, I mean, yes, New Hampshire's definitely been worse than, basically the middle of the pack. I think they were number 23 or 26 on the COVID freedom charts in the past. So New Hampshire went from the freest state one of the freest states in the union, tied with Florida with Cato Institute, number one freest in North America, according to the Fraser Institute. And, COVID comes and wham, bam, 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 bam. The Republican governor just, acquiesces to all the closeted Democrats. We're surrounded here. I get it. And
I'm sure it had to do with our elderly population. They make up a lot of the votes.
They do. We do have an elderly population in New Hampshire. And why they continue to be up here where they can slip on the ice and break a hip, beyond me.
Yeah.
I mean, go to Florida. For God's sake, what is wrong with you? Your relatives can visit you there.
Florida hates you right now.
Yeah. Look, I'm from Florida, and as soon as they can figure out a way to get the Yankees out of there, I'll go back.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Florida's, according to the Cato Institute, was the number one freest state in 2019 or something like that. And it has a lot to do with property ownership laws and things like that. But in Florida, there isn't a mask mandate. Businesses decide whether they want to mandate masks, and customers decide whether they want to go in. Because that's what freedom looks like, ladies and gentlemen. Telling people that they have to have masks in their business, that's what tyranny looks like. Look, if you want to go in a business that doesn't have masks, find a different freaking business or call them and they'll deliver to your house.
Yeah, no one's tricking you.
Yeah.
They'll post it on the door.
Yeah.
I don't see what the issue is.
None of your business. And that's how it's going to be in New Hampshire starting on Friday, and I'm looking forward to it.
There were some very bold places who bucked it right from the beginning. I walked into one of them today and had lunch by myself and had a Skype meeting and didn't have a mask from the time I walked in to the time I walked out. And
if you leave any major like urban area in New Hampshire, a lot of the time when you walk in, no one cares if you have a mask on.
No, they don't even think about it.
Yeah, the rural people just don't seem to care.
No, they don't. And that's true everywhere.
Yeah, and it didn't affect them any different. I mean, and that's crazy too when you think about the fact that like Texas got rid of their mask mandate, Florida's barely ever had one, and the numbers of COVID cases there are pretty much the same. So tell me what the masks are even doing.
Well, nothing from a statistical standpoint.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it why somebody might want to wear a mask in a certain circumstance, and I think they should be free to do so.
Yeah.
What was it? Didn't we know that from the outset, though? Because it was like, was it Finland or Sweden or something? Sweden.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just weren't having it, and their numbers didn't do anything strange.
Nothing strange. I mean, everybody, COVID does what COVID did, what COVID wanted to do. And all the things that everybody tried just didn't work.
The mask stuff
what COVID wanted to do was kill 0.05% of the population that got it.
Yeah.
And then it was,
Yeah, and let's talk about, let's not even get into the fact that the numbers are probably inflated. But but like, a virus is so small that like the holes in the fabric of your mask are like 1,000 times larger than the virus.
Yeah.
So let's just be honest and say that the masks are security theater. There was no evidence out there that suggested that masks are effective at preventing anything. It was all conjecture to make people feel good. And like people kind of forget that at one point in time, the Surgeon General told people to not wear masks.
Yes.
Like
it won't do any good.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the Surgeon General, but Fauci said don't wear a mask.
Fauci did,
Yeah. The Surgeon General definitely did and said you need to stop wearing masks so the nurses can have them.
Yeah.
Like it was because the government was saying we need our masks first and then maybe later you can wear them.
People were going into their garages, blowing off the dust off their N95 masks that they got at Home Depot in 2014 for when they do the weed eating and stuff. And they were taking them to the emergency rooms. And I don't have a problem with this. I think I love that kind of spirit that America has. And I don't know if my mother's N95 masks did anything good or not, but we darn sure delivered them to Doctor's Hospital and we bought them 5 pizzas. Yeah. And, great. I hope that was useful or whatever. I'm not angry about that, but that's where they wanted those masks at the time. I'm only putting a point on the fact that, yes, they wanted those masks at the hospital and you weren't supposed to be wearing them. You were supposed to be wearing a dirty rag shoved in your cup holder over your face.
Right.
And look, again, you should be able to do what you want to do. If you want to drive around your Prius with a mask over your face. No, it wasn't a Prius today that I saw today. It was a guy in a Volkswagen Bug, a man in a Volkswagen, a new Volkswagen Beetle.
How sad.
I don't know. Look, I don't generally question people's sexuality based on the car they drive, but I could not drive my ex-girlfriend's VW Beetle without feeling gay with the little flower sitting in the vase there.
The bud vase.
I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this, but at least the new Volkswagen Beetles, like even just compared to the ones from 10 years ago, they look a lot better.
They do.
Come on,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Like they're not as...
I think they look better.
Fruity.
This guy was in one of the newer ones and driving in rural New Hampshire. He wasn't coming from someplace populated or anything
Boston.
like that. There's nothing within 10 miles of where he is, and nothing to speak of. I know because I live there, and he had a mask on in a VW Beetle. If you want to drive around with a mask on in your VW Beetle, empty, like nobody else in there.
Sure.
Maybe you're keeping your dog in the back seat. I don't know, but if that's what you want to do, you should be able to do that. And
absolutely,
now in America, you can walk into a business with a mask on. 2 years ago, it was weird. Like people are going to look at you. Why is that person wearing a medical mask?
It was always normal in Asian countries.
Yep.
I mean, I lived in Japan for a few years, and if you had a cold, you wore a mask in public.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
And it is a great idea.
Yeah, it's fine. Good. Fabulous. You probably should stay home if you have a cold, but if you have to go out for whatever reason, fine. Wear a mask, wear gloves. Do what you want.
Yeah.
But when you start mandating how people are going to live their lives and how they're going to, and I mean the businesses, your business is your business, and you should decide how things are going to look there. If everybody's got to wear a yak skin coat and a pair of Panama shorts, that's your business. Now, it might get difficult. I mean, trying to enforce this, you might have to hand out yak skin coats at the front door. I don't know. But they used to have restaurants where people had to wear a blazer. I mean, how ridiculous is it now that you have to wear a mask into a restaurant? I mean, I have literally had to buy a mask for $1 at a restaurant, at the hostess counter of a restaurant, to walk through an open air restaurant with the doors open to go sit down and then take my mask off and get my glass of water. Because it's crazy. It's just nuts.
What does it do?
False security.
Yeah.
False sense of security.
Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about the mask mandate ending? It's ending in New Hampshire, but I'm sure you've got an opinion.
We're all gonna die!
603-283-6160. 603-283-6160.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Hey developers, do you want to add Bitcoin to your apps, website? Want to make something creative? AnyPay is the way. We made a super simple API just for you at anypay.dev. You don't need any special knowledge of Bitcoin. Plug it into your app or website and it just works. Get paid on the transactions your users make. Whether you're brand new to web development or have decades of experience, you can add Bitcoin to anything with anypay.dev.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
It was a big night for music's hottest acts, especially for Lord Chillingsworth. In a shocking upset, the young artist took home the spookiest Halloween sound effect album Grammy for Creepy Night in Halloween Manor. Music blogger Ty Vaughn is here. Ty, what a shocker.
Lord Chillingsworth's track, Man Being Boiled Alive While Chains Rattle in a Dungeon, was crazy spooky. It was everywhere this year. Haunted houses, Halloween stores, nighttime hayrides. Anywhere you look, people were getting the willies from this album.
But a lot of people thought Grammy darling Dr. Spookenstein was a shoo-in to win for his album Laboratory of Madness.
And that was a great album. Critics praised Spookenstein's stripped-down approach, rattling real bones together and dripping real blood onto a screaming lady.
The class act Spookenstein offered a gracious congratulations to Chillingsworth, saying, "I'm a fan of every bloody who was nominated, especially Chillingsworth. I have a skeleton ton of respect for him as an artist. I just saw him on the red carpet and congratulated him."
This is the Onion News Network.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. That's what we do here on Free Talk Live. It's Mark with you.
Matt. And Tyler.
The number is 603-283-6160. It's 603-283-6160 here in the beautiful White Mountain state of New Hampshire.
Whoop, whoop.
Can I just say real quick, I still jam out to Rebel Inc.'s intro to every new segment that we do.
really did get some good clips from them.
Unbelievable.
And,
they're so good.
Yeah, they're so awesome for letting us do that. We had to pay them. We paid them a one-time fee rather than like over and over and over again. So, one-time fee, and we get to rock out forever.
It rocks. It rocks. I still bob my head to it every time.
Yeah, and I think that we probably, like, we've never paid attention to the monetization of our YouTube channels, and I think that we continue to, whenever we do manage to get a YouTube video back out there, and they haven't banned us for medical misinformation, which happens over and over because we say COVID-19 and then they banned us.
Don't say the word.
Like, I'm not giving any medical information, but we said the word and that was it. Well, let's appeal it. No.
Why waste the time?
Yeah, no, we appealed it and they said no.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, they may be getting some residuals off of our YouTube. It was up there for some time, but I think that axe has been swung against our neck at this point, and we're figuring out ways to handle it.
If only there was an alternative to YouTube like Library.
Indeed. Well, it is, but it isn't. It's a huge platform. YouTube is. So, I'll take it when I can get it, but I can't get it too often these days. Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. Ladies and gentlemen, we just hit an all-time high, $64,000 per Bitcoin. It's probably time you ought to go there and click on Get Started at the top of the page. And if you are a knowledgeable crypto user, check out news.bitcoin.com. We just read a story from them last night. News.bitcoin.com. Or regular Bitcoin.com. Click started. Get started. It's Bitcoin.com is your source for getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news on a slick and easy-to-use website. It's that easy. You just got to go there, check it out. So here in the White Mountain State, New Hampshire's mask mandate will end Friday, and it won't be renewed, the governor says. Now, the governor's faced a lot of pressure over this, and good for him for finally letting people decide what they should be able to do in their business. Bad for him for deciding what people should do in their business up to that point.
Right.
It's none of these people's business. They're just people someplace telling you what to do. And, it's your business. You should be able to decide. Coming out of Germany now. This is from DW.com. German courts to overturn all lockdown measures. Germany has entered a new partial lockdown that raises important questions about people's basic rights. So could courts potentially overturn the lockdown and open all restaurants again? German courts are dealing with a major rise in legal complaints against government lockdown measures because people know they don't do anything.
Well, they do a lot of negative stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sorry.
That's what this article talks about. It has to do with the fact that, like, this is psychologically damaging to children to send them to school and treat them where they can't touch other kids and they can't go out and play and they can't have any fun. It's insane.
It's really crazy. And they basically been saying up to this point that we're going to put you under house arrest without habeas corpus and you're going to live with it.
Yeah.
And courts are now beginning to say, not so much.
Yeah, certain countries are starting to wake up. I mean, we had Belgium like 2 weeks ago when I was on the show. We talked about they got rid of their lockdowns. I know England started to get rid of their lockdowns, or they're getting prepared to. I've talked to some people that live over there and said they are actively preparing to get rid of their lockdowns. So people are starting to wake up around the world.
Courts are ruling against, because this is the idea that's been out there is that everybody believes this way, and they don't.
No.
Most Americans, most people in the world do not believe that this stuff is a good idea. And the Great Barrington Accords coming out and doctors saying, this is dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that every other illness, every other mental difficulty, everything is subservient to COVID, which has a 99% survival rate.
Yeah.
If you got diagnosed with cancer with 99% survival rate, would you do anything to change your lifestyle?
No.
I mean, you just continue on doing whatever you did because, well, you'll probably survive. You might be part of the 1% that doesn't. It's lower than that, but, the case may be. I just had COVID. I lost 15 pounds in 5 days.
Good to go now.
I dropped some weight.
I think, and that's the thing. For most people, it's like a severe cold.
It was, it was.
That's what it's like.
I would have called it more like the flu.
Sure.
I know you're not. I know you're not supposed to say flu and COVID in the same breath because otherwise you support Orange Hitler.
Oh, of course.
And because that's what Trump said, it was going to be like a bad case of the flu. And you look back at these numbers, and he was exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he was wrong on.
Mm-hmm. No.
He just said it in ways that made some people really unhappy.
Right.
But they were unhappy with him beforehand.
Is Orange Man bad?
Orange Man bad.
So ridiculous.
Orange Man haircut worse.
And yeah, the haircut's not great, I mean, and now you got geriatric Jesus. I'm hoping that
he does such a great job. He's really protecting us all every day. He's out there holding the line.
Sniffing
against the Chinese.
Sniffing those kids.
Sniffing the kids. Yeah, I mean, I can't see how in the world anybody could be excited about Biden other than he's not Trump. I can see why you're excited he's not Trump.
He's doing the same things. He wants to build the wall. And
it's the same stuff.
He's still being aggressive against China when it comes to trade. I mean, at least as far as posturing goes.
But more against Russia.
But more so against Russia. Yeah, it was never about Trump's policy. It was because Orange Man bad and he says mean things to people.
Yeah.
And that's all
he made fun of that retarded looking reporter. It was terrible. I can't believe you would even do it. He's awful.
Well, and now all these news agencies are laying people off because no one watches the news anymore. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. Trump was good for the media.
Absolutely. And I mean, they're stunned.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, once COVID's gone, then what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to look at anymore. I forget weeks on end to look at the COVID deaths at the CDC. I was watching daily what the deaths were at the CDC. We're now below at least the threshold that I had for excess deaths. So it'll be it's going to be weeks before you can say fundamentally we're below the excess death numbers. But basically we're back to normal.
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody's acting like it's going to be a fourth surge of illness.
There was a third surge?
Yeah.
Did that happen?
There absolutely was a third surge. The third surge was honestly the worst as far as deaths went. We were so shell-shocked.
I kind of caught out, like Tyler and I were both really, really early to market on the whole COVID-19. We were watching the Chinese stuff and Wuhan burning down, and that was December, early to mid December of 2019.
Well, and does anyone remember all of those videos that came out of China?
Oh yeah, the
of
nurses beating their heads on. There's bodies stacked up in the hallways.
Yeah, and people passing out in the street, and they were welding doors shut on people's houses.
Yep.
Clearly, that was all propaganda.
Yes,
that never happened here.
Didn't happen.
Lean in here, Tyler, and take a look at these. This is the deaths in America, and you can see, this is March, April here. This is the lump with the warm states in the winter, and this is the third surge. These are deaths, actual deaths in America. So there was a third surge. I'll talk to you about it on the break. 603-283-6160.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. It's 603-283-6160. Mark with you. Oh, shoot. Low quality talk show host behavior.
Matt.
And Tyler.
The number, 603-283-6160. For those of you who are concerned that somehow because of this, the arrests of Free Talk Live hosts, that you can find out more about at thecrypto6.com, that ForkFest 2021 is not going to happen. I can't imagine where you've been getting in your information. We've been telling you every single time we talk about it, it's decentralized. So it's going to happen. We're going to be there. If Free Talk Live will be there, if we can manage it, we will be there. I can't imagine we won't. Check out forkfest.party. It's a celebration going on from June the 28th through July 4th. So it's Independence Day weekend, or that time frame. And you can hang out with other freedom-loving activists here in the Shire. Find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Get connected with other attendees there. You can, you can carpool up. It's the unofficial. They've got the unofficial Telegram there, the unofficial forum. Everything's unofficial because it's forkfest.party. Go there, check it out, forkfest.party. Guys, in the last, just before at the end of the last segment, we were talking about these excess death numbers surrounding COVID-19, and I just want to hear what your feedback is on this. So I'm looking at a chart from the CDC. Now, I've decided in my life is I can't question everything that comes across my desk, so I have to believe some things. I decided I was going to believe the deaths reported to and by the Center for Disease Control. Now, these are not deaths as they're not ascribed to any particular thing. It's just deaths that happened in a given week. And going back basically a year from today, there's a lot more deaths that went on from 2020, let's see, March 20, the week of March 28th, 2020, peaked up over excess deaths, and then it didn't go below excess deaths until very recently, February the 27th, 2021. So almost a year's worth of body stack like cordwood here. I mean, not. I'm not talking about. I mean, maybe I'm just guessing a percentage here. 10% more deaths. Just be eyeballing it here. Are you guys saying that these deaths didn't occur? What are you saying about these deaths? What are your thoughts when you see these numbers?
What can we just talk about what it means to have excess deaths?
Yes.
Like there's an allotment, right? Like the government decides how many people die every year and that we're just overbooked. Because I feel
mostly we've been underbooked since 2017.
Oh, so they've been beating it.
Yeah,
the government saves you from death. This is great news. I didn't realize.
Been a few peaks up over. There was very early and very late in 2016. There was 1 week, and then in 2018 there was like 6 weeks, and then 2020. Bammo.
Probably you really can't tell anything by this graph unless you overlay it on other years' graphs and things like that.
Well, this is several years. This goes to 2017. So, I mean, you get some idea of the cyclical nature of death in the United States. Say, for instance, I'm looking at July the 29th, the week of the July 29th, 2017 here, and 50,000 people died. But 6 months before that, 60,000 people died. Mm-hmm. So basically, in the United States, 50 to 60,000 people die every single week, depending on whether or not it's the cold and flu season.
Right.
It seems.
Except we're not having cold and flu.
Oh,
anymore.
I know.
It doesn't exist anymore.
We beat that.
It's cured.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you look at this excess death chart that was intended to, back. They presumed that things were going to go on the way that they were going to go on. The peak in January really wasn't a peak at all for COVID. So it was largely it's just sort of an overlay. It's very interesting. Anyway,
COVID wasn't fake, right? We all know it was made in a lab.
Right.
Probably in Wuhan. But look,
some government somewhere made COVID. Some people calling themselves government made COVID.
Right. Which is fair, I think, to assume. But it's not that it was fake. COVID exists and people have died from COVID. But what bothers me is this idea that we're going to go to such great lengths to try and prevent death of this disease that people don't have an immunity towards. Now, if this was like, the Spanish flu of 1918, where 25-year-old, healthy kids were getting smoked, and it was affecting our ability to function as a society, yeah, maybe we should do something. But obese, really old people who were going to die from a real nasty flu if they'd gotten it could have died from that just as easily.
If I was a tyrant and I was going to design a disease that would be good for my nation, that disease would kill the poor and the old and the infirm.
Especially if you're running socialism, because they're the most expensive ones to take care of.
Well, at this point, everything's got to be, socialist healthcare is global.
Yep.
I mean, so there's a few families out there paying for, healthcare in the United States. They can afford it. Screw them.
COVID-19 wiped out a bunch of expensive ones.
What's that?
COVID-19 wiped out a whole bunch of expensive people.
Yeah, a few, handfuls of expensive people. But when you look at the charts as to who died, it was poor, old, obese, existing problems, all the kind of things that a government would not want.
Yeah.
And would have to pay for. Remember the RAND study from the 90s where they gave people free medical care and some people didn't get free medical care, and the functional difference was less than 5% different as far as a death rate went. Like they bought people's medical care 100%. You go to the hospital for the sniffles, whatever. That took care of it. And it was almost statistically insignificant, the change as far as deaths and illness and loss of work and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because people just get by. And governments aren't willing to do that. But if you were to kill people, look, I'm not saying the government killed off all those people.
Yeah.
But I am saying that if I was a tyrant, this is the way I'd design my disease.
Governments have absolutely no problems killing off people.
And think about the velocity of money for a minute. This is the most important thing when it comes to modern monetary theory is how quickly does money go from one person to the next person to the next person to the next person.
Yeah.
And the group of people that are worst about spending their money are the 65-plussers. They've got the things they need to have. As a matter of fact, in many cases, they're downsizing. And they're not spending their money; they're acquiring money. So if you can kill those people off, then blink, that goes into the hands of their heirs.
Yeah,
who are then in an acquisitive stage. They're buying stuff and those kind of things.
Interesting thought.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's true, but
sure makes lots of sense.
It makes a lot of sense, and I know that I've solved some problems in my life by following the money.
Yeah. And I don't know if I want to just jump on the ship and say that like COVID was planned or there's an intention behind it. But like it's easy to look at it and say, what's the real metric for when we should do something? Because there doesn't seem to be one. It just seems to be like, it's like, okay, there's this disease that's killing more people this year than died last year. Let's use this as a great opportunity to start telling people what to do. And we're going to start like coming up with these great ideas where like people are going to have some kind of digital passport where you have to like use it to get on planes and go to the grocery store. And we're going to be able to tell you exactly
more control.
Where you can. That's all it is. That's all it seems to be. Because here's the thing. People are going to think I'm a horrible person because I'm like, guess what? People die. Right? But guess what? They really do. 100% of people alive today will die at some point.
And the good news is that everybody who's died already can't die again.
They can't die again. You only do it once.
One time.
Yeah.
Well, we were hoping for a zombie apocalypse here, so let's see if,
I still have my fingers crossed.
603-283-6160, 603-283-6160, Free Talk Live.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Final segment. Mark with you.
Matt. And Tyler.
Sorry, Matt. The number is 603-283-6160, 603-283-6160. If I haven't mentioned them up to this point, the crypto6.com. You can go there, support our co-hosts who have been ripped from their homes and on what appear to be spurious charges, best I can tell. Let's go straight to the phone, guys. Got David calling in from New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, so I want to get back to, Mark, your questions and where you want to take your issue. And I still was a little bit unclear as to whether you were inquiring only about the legal matters at hand or your operation there. So I guess why don't we start there? Can you clarify that? Which were you referring to?
Yeah, I think what so this is a question I asked you probably 3 or 4 nights ago. And the question basically is what, if anything, is Free Talk Live doing wrong to sort of react to the Federal Bureau of Investigation's a multi-agency task force busting up our studio and doing this could be international news.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I don't know what I'm supposed to do about that exactly and how to make it, go viral or anything like that. Mostly I'm just trying to get us on the air and making sure everything's fine all day long. At this point, the job that was once managed by 2 people is now managed by 1. And the other guy, Ian, is constantly calling me and giving me new crap to do. And, I understand there legitimately is new stuff to do and things that need to be done. But I just, if I'm missing something glaring out there, people, something that I should be doing in order to react to this, benefit from it, get Free Talk Live on more stations, get it heard by more people, get the crypto6.com with more donations. We're nowhere near getting the kind of donations we need to cover the lawyers' costs that we're going to have. And, really, that's just a matter of getting the ear of some crypto whales, honestly.
Right. Okay. So let's start with one thing you said, which is probably the most logical place to start. What are Ian's ideas on that question?
I think Ian's always thought small. He's not a big thinker, and he is in jail thinking, he's like, will you get in my email and check for this lady's name? I want you to send this video to my lawyer so that he knows what we were thinking or something. So, that's the kind of thing he's doing right now.
Right. Okay. So the next thing that comes to my mind, have you done any promoting to media sources as to what's going on to see if they have any interest?
Some. We contacted the Alex Jones show, and we supposed to be. I think it was around Adam versus the Man today. Some stuff. Been on a couple of crypto websites, but they want to parrot what the federal government said too. It's very important when the government says something, there's no counter to it. But when a person says something, the government's counter must be included in the story, because this is how journalism works these days. I don't know. It's very strange.
Okay, well then that brings up one thing then. So how about the entertaining their? If I hear you right, what you're saying is that some of these people are citing back to you what the government is saying, the government's allegations. So have you then?
They don't say it to me.
Them or off?
No, they just put a story together. The one time that I've been interviewed, I'd have to go look it up right now to tell you what the source was, but it was one of these crypto websites, and the lady tried to be as fair as she could possibly be, and she was far more fair than anything else that was out there because she included what I had to say. But none of the other crypto websites out there have bothered to ring us up and ask us any questions. It's very strange.
Okay. Have you done it in an organized fashion? I mean, you've called one by one. Have you put together an electronic mailing package to send to them?
Ian has used to have all that. He used to be the one that handled that, and so it's locked up behind some password someplace. Is the answer?
Oh, okay. So is that something that you could possibly do? I mean, that's an idea that I have. If you want to. And you put together a media package and send it out to all of the different, possible media destinations, so that they at least have it to look at if they want to look at it. Has that been done?
Next time I talk to him, I will get that, the pass, whatever it takes to get into that list. I think it's a good idea. Thank you for the call, David. Appreciate it. Matt, here's a question I've been wanted to ask you on the air.
Do it up.
What's the best concealed carry handgun out there?
A SIG P365.
So why'd you pick that one? No one will ever say these things. No one will ever. Go ahead.
I disagree.
What do you want?
America's concealed carry handgun is the Shield. M&P Shield.
What's the MP Shield?
The original M&P Shield?
The 2.0. That's what I carry.
It's a single stack though.
Yeah.
You gain nothing in capacity, and it's the same size.
Yeah, I mean
7 rounds versus 11 rounds.
Okay, that's a good point. I think it's got a better trigger. I've shot the 365. It's all right, but I think it's got a spongy trigger. And I don't know how reliable it is. I'm assuming it's reliable, but I know that I probably put 500 rounds through my Shield when I took it out of the box without even cleaning it, and it never jammed.
Yeah,
I've probably put 2,000 rounds since then, and it's never once jammed.
I've got about 1,000 rounds through my 365, and it hasn't not even hiccuped, not even once. And I've been putting really crappy, cheap ammo through it.
Yeah, you can run anything through the Shield.
Yeah.
What's the price point?
Check
for the 365?
ammo.
Depends on who you have friends with, but now they're all expensive. I think it's $599.
Yeah,
MSRP.
see, the Shield was $300 when I bought it. That was
there was a point you could get a Shield for $220. Now, since 365 came out, everybody's getting rid of their Shields. So you can get a Smith & Wesson Shield for a song and a dance now. But
so what is a Shield? Is it like a 1911 only smaller?
No.
Yeah,
you said it was.
I've got one on me.
I can't touch it, but I'll look at it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, a single stack, and I can see the width of the yeah. I mean.
Here.
I wouldn't call that a.
Now you had to do this to me because I don't have my 365 on me. Yeah, this thing's got a really flat. It's like I like that it's flat, but it's also uncomfortable.
Flat will bite into the meat of your hand when if you fire and fire and fire.
It's not.
You just keep blowing commies away one after another.
Yeah.
Look, Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just going to keep shooting commies, you really should get to your rifle.
Yeah,
that's right.
I mean, ideally, your sidearm is what you want to take to get to your rifle.
Yeah.
It's not a means to an end.
But Karen Nation would freak out if we just walked into the grocery store with AR-15 strapped to our back all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
probably.
It seems like a lot of work too. I mean, I don't know that I wouldn't want to do that personally. I mean, and the guys
Bulky.
from 10 or 15 years ago that were going to like Starbucks, I mean, they didn't look like heroes. I can assure you.
No, you look like a jerk.
Look like a mall ninja.
Even open carrying to me, you look like a jerk because you're just signaling to everybody that if somebody if some commie does want to start shooting up a grocery store, you're the first target because you're the only threat to them. So you need to carry something like one thing I love about the shield is it's less than an inch thick. Like I can wear it with a t-shirt and cargo shorts, or a tank top, and you can't see it.
Do you have a special holster for it, or is it just?
I use an alien gear holster. It's an inside the waistband holster. It spreads the weight out across like a 6-inch area.
It makes
really
it much
nice.
more comfortable, as I understand it.
Yeah.
These inside the waistband things are just so comfortable, and basically you can't tell that you got anything on, and people don't know.
Yeah, I mean the only thing you pay attention to is the weight. Otherwise, it doesn't get in the way. It doesn't hang up on anything.
Yeah, there's been a lot of leaps forward in technology as far as comfort in carry, and I think that this is, it ain't like when you just shoved it in your waistband and it pulled your pants down and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If it was ever like that.
Yeah, and like one thing that I love that came out of this whole COVID fiasco that we've been going through this past year is so many people have contacted me and asked me, hey, I want to buy a firearm. I want to learn how to protect myself. What can you teach me? And I feel like how many new gun owners have there been in the last year? Something like 12 million?
Yeah.
Zillions of them.
And no one can buy ammunition. Gun prices are going through the roof because
I'm glad to
wants a
see they're
gun.
practicing.
Yeah, and this is great news.
I don't know that they are practicing. I think everybody went out and bought a gun and 2 boxes of ammo, and they don't know what to do with it. They're just sitting there staring at it.
I hope not. And that's the thing, was like this could be the pivotal moment when America gets back to being a gun culture.
Hopefully.
Because that's what I want to see more than anything.
I wonder, I have a conspiracy. What's that?
Why is that?
Why is that?
Why do you want to see people armed?
It's great for America. Everybody should be armed. No one is responsible for protecting you except for you. You are responsible for taking care of yourself.
All right, go ahead and say your carry again.
I'm carrying.
Carry what?
Oh, an M&P shield.
And?
I carry a SIG P365.
And you like those both?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, check them out. Check out thecrypto6.com and freetalklive.com. Lots of ways for you to be involved. Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. It's bitcoin.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email.